Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the companion video here on my YouTube channel. What happens around here every day is on the John Campea Show and on Open Mic. We take a ton of live questions, but most of the time we don't have time to get around to all of the questions that get sent in. So I put together these companion videos so you know that if you send in a question, it will get answered. Even if it doesn't get answered live on the live show, if we run out of time, it does get answered here on the companion video. Look, we've got a lot of questions to get through today because I'm a little bit behind because I was planning to go to Vegas. I had the Infinity War premiere, all that kind of stuff. So I am behind. So I'm going to move pretty quickly through the questions today. Just want to give you a little bit of a heads up just because I am so far behind. Got a ton of questions to get to and I want to get them all. So let's get things started with this. The first question today comes to us from Luke1234 who writes, your thoughts on the original RoboCop? Oh, it's great. It's easily the best of all the RoboCops, and that includes the remake. And I'll be honest with you, the one with Michael Keaton, I liked the remake. I did. I actually thought the remake was pretty good. Not as good as the original. The sequel and then part 3 were pretty good too. Not as good as the original. Clearly, it is the best one. Now, I'm not as big of a fan of the original RoboCop as a bunch of other people, but it's clearly a great movie, and I'd buy that for $1. All right, next one comes to us from Chris Martin, who writes, have you heard of Taylor Davis, pretty popular violinist on YouTube? I've got to meet her twice. If it's the right person that I'm thinking of, then yes. I'll say, let me do a quick search here for, I just want to make sure it's the right, is she the Asian? No, it's not the Asian girl. I was thinking of somebody different. You know what? I've never listened to this girl, and she's got like 2.3 million subscribers. And I dig violinists, I really do. So I'm going to check out some of her stuff when I'm done the show here today. Thanks for pointing me in her direction. All right, Big 4 Dam and Alfie Gamer writes, hey John, my word, God of War is a masterpiece. I'm having so many, it's funny, Ann and I were just having dinner. And I was actually telling her, I've got, like my viewers are all telling me about how great God of War is. And then I'm going to have Ray bring over his PS4 and I'm going to buy the game so I can try it out. And I don't even play console games. Like any gaming I do, I usually do on my PC. But everybody is telling me how good God of War is. So I am very anxious to give it a shot. Thanks for the recommendation, man. Lord of Thunder, Prince of Stars writes, I hope we see Vision's power at the max in Infinity War. Well, I've seen Infinity War and I can't tell you anything. Sorry about that. I can't even speculate because I've seen it. So I cannot say anything. Make sure you see the movie and then tune in for our spoiler review on Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I was going to do it Saturday, but a lot of you guys said, hey, John, give us one more day to see the movie. So fine, I listened to you guys. I've bumped it to Sunday, 2 p.m. Ann and I are both going to be doing the spoiler review. Make sure it's going to be 2 hours long. So just big open discussion about Infinity War. I'm looking forward to it. Make sure you join us for that. And then we'll talk a little bit about Vision and his power. Okay, Tom Elam writes, means so much that you took my question the other day, but I got it wrong. I was meant to ask if Sabretooth would have been a better villain than X-24. Oh, I remember the question, yes. Oh, don't worry, I totally understood what you mean. I totally understood what you meant. No worries, don't worry about that. Believe me, with the way some people word their questions, your little mistake is hardly a mistake at all. So don't worry about it. But again, I'll stick to the same answer. No, Sabretooth wouldn't have made a better villain for it. Sabretooth didn't fit that story. The way the story of Logan was laid out and the way it progressed, the way they used the X program, the way they used the clone was a much better, more appropriate foil in that than say Tabor. You would have to completely rewritten the story and that would have taken something away. So while I do love the Sabretooth character, for this particular story, Sabretooth wouldn't have fit, I don't think, in my personal opinion. All right, next one comes to us from R. Olson writes, I hate loving you, John. I just sat up to 4 a.m. watching The Office. I had a bit of a hard time to get into the silly humor of it in season 1, but after mid-season 2, it really took off. Man, do I love it. Do I love it watching it. Thanks, John. Yeah, The Office. Look, when you're talking about The Office, Parks and Rec, a couple of my all-time favorite comedies. Like, those are the two comedies that, like, Ann and I, on any given night, when we come home, we can just put on Hulu or Netflix, whichever, go to The Office or go to Parks and Rec and just close our eyes and randomly pick an episode and we know we're going to love the episode. And I'm glad you're getting into it. And it's once you get your head around the style of humor, but also once you start to get to know the characters. Once you get to know the characters, the humor really starts to take off. Ben Heyusa writes, also seeing a Infinity War on the 29th with a whole bunch of people in a much wider theater. Usually watch movies near my area at a crappy theater, but Infinity War is the movie to watch at a Dolby theater. Cannot wait. I'm so excited for you. They're going to watch in a Dolby theater. Whether it's an AMC Prime or another version of the Dolby theater, I'm going to go see it again on Thursday night in a Dolby theater. It's just the best. At the world premiere, they did it in a Dolby format, which is just the format. It was the best way to watch it, and I'm very happy for you. I'm excited for you that you get to see this movie on that type of format. You made the right decision. It's worth the drive. It totally is. It's worth the drive for that movie. ZCM Zombie Custom Maps writes, Avengers opens this weekend, and I have college finals. I feel like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas being told to get my shine box. What, are you saying I amuse you? You face a conundrum. Look, I faced a conundrum. I had tickets already to be in Las Vegas for CinemaCon for Sony's big presentation. Because you know how there's a Venom trailer right now? That's where they released it, was at their big presentation at CinemaCon, plus they had this big after party and all that kind of, plus this morning, or yesterday morning I should say, they had the big Disney presentation where they were showing footage of Aladdin and Lion King and Solo and all that kind of stuff. But then I got the invitation to the Infinity War premiere, and I had to make a choice. Go to Vegas and see the Sony and Disney presentations, or stay home and go to the Infinity War premiere. I decided to stay home. Now, your finals are probably a little bit more important. You're probably gonna have to give some priority to your finals, but just see Infinity War when you get a chance. Don't mess up on your finals by any stretch of the imagination. All right, Raymond Vitara writes, will Crazy Rich Asians be the Asian Americans Black Panther and Wonder Woman, or are 50 Shades of Grey? Crazy Rich Asians trailer will drop tomorrow. And of course, it dropped the other day because this question was sent in like 2 days ago. I like the trailer for Crazy Rich Asians, and I've been really looking forward to it because everything I've been reading about it sounds fabulous. The one thing that bothers me, and this isn't Crazy Rich Asians' fault, this is just a standard thing. Why is it in every, like, one of these kind of potential relationship love movies, if the girl's the central character, the guy can't just be a nice guy. He's also got to either be a prince or unbelievably rich and wealthy. I think that does a disservice to women. It makes women, like these types of movies just make it look like the only thing women are interested in are guys with money. Like it's just, at the end of the day, even they say they fall in love with them before they knew they had the money. Oh, but they're super rich. And I just think it paints a bad picture. I think so. That's the one part that puts me off about it a little bit. But the name of the movie is Crazy Rich Asians, so that's got to be an element of it. Again, look, all I know is that I'm really looking forward to the movie. I think it looks like it's going to be really funny. So, and the fact that it's got like the girl from Fresh Off the Boat in it, this could be really great. And I'm very much looking for. I don't think it'll quite be, you know, the Wonder Woman or the Black Panther kind of thing for Asian Americans. But I do think it's going to lean that way as opposed to the 50 Shades way. Chris Martin writes, can you see Disney doing a 2D hand-drawn animated film again? I miss those. So many classics. Nah, I can't. And really, ultimately, it's not the animation style that makes the story. The story makes the story. And it's the story that makes it classic. Do I kind of miss the hand-drawn stuff? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, it's not the hand-drawn or the CGI that makes the movie good. It's the story, it's characters. It's the same thing that makes a regular, live-action film good. Story, characters, plot, how you progress, all that kind of stuff. These are the things that make it classic, not the look of it, per se. And just the fact of the matter is, you'd have a very hard time marketing a film today that's 2D animated, like traditional hand-drawn animation. I think you'd have a harder time selling it. Although, maybe in a few years, there might be a nostalgia factor to it. And maybe it would become like an in thing to do a hand-drawn one. We'll have to wait and see. I just don't see it happening anytime in the near future. Now, I'm not saying whether it should or shouldn't. You're just asking me if I can see them doing it, and should or shouldn't is totally a side issue. I don't see them doing it anytime soon. But who knows? I mean, crazier things have happened. Perseus Westbrooks writes, when do you think we'll get a full Venom trailer? Well, I mean, obviously this came in like 2 days ago, just before the Venom trailer dropped. So this is the easiest question I'll ever take on the show. Anytime now. Obviously the trailer's already out. So the trailer's out, we've had a chance to watch it. There you go. Kane Erturon, who writes, What do you think about the Atlanta film industry? I know nothing about the Atlanta film industry, other than I know Marvel likes to shoot a bunch of their stuff there. I think Donald Glover's show Atlanta, I think that shoots there. But other than that, I have no functional knowledge of the Atlanta film industry. I really don't. So I am not qualified to give any kind of an answer to that question. Advith Raj Adurai writes, speaking about How to Train Your Dragon 3, movie you have seen, the DreamWorks Dragon series on Netflix uses the same animation as the movies with TJ Miller. Well, it's not the exact same animation. It's a little more involved. And I've never seen it. I've never watched the Netflix series of it. I've honestly never heard good things about it. It's not like I've heard completely trashy things about it either, but I've never heard anything positive about it. So no, I've never watched it. It doesn't interest me. I love the movies, but I have no interest in watching a Netflix animated series any more than I have watching a Fast and the Furious Netflix animated series. Can you believe they're making one of those? Like, how stupid is that? Daryl Best Wadley writes, when does the embargo for Infinity War lift? It lifted today. So today at 3 o'clock is when it lifted. Or I should say, you're watching this in the morning. I'm clearly recording this late on Tuesday night. That's why I might look a little bit tired. It's late on Tuesday night. This video airs on Wednesday morning. The embargo lifted yesterday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My review is up. You can go and watch my review. It's a non-spoiler review, 10 minutes long. And once again, make sure you tune in on Sunday when Ann and I will do a 2-hour spoiler review for Avengers Infinity War. All right, James Mortimer writes, congrats on the move. Thank you so much. In my new studio here, we're in our new place. Black cloaked woman in the Avengers AOU, Age of Ultron trailer, in the pool Thor has his vision in. Was that meant to be Hela or someone else? You know, I can't remember. I'm going to guess it was Hela. I can't back that up, and it's been a while since I've watched Ultron. Actually, no, Ultron was on the other day, and I watched a bunch of it because it was on TV, but I didn't get around to seeing that scene. So it's been a while since I've seen the scene. I'm going to guess yes. How about that? Right now, I'm going to guess that yes, that's supposed to be. Some people were wondering if that was supposed to be a vision of the events of Infinity War, to which we've always said, no. That's something completely different. It was the visions of Ragnarok, of the destruction of Asgard. So I think that probably was meant to be Hela, I think. Could totally be wrong about that, but that's my best guess. Rakuz writes, hey, John, first of all, I want to say good luck with the launch of your merch. Thank you so much. We know the Transformers movies suck, but I always go away thinking the score by Steve Jablonsky was gorgeous. Dude, actually, this came up the other day. Somebody else brought this up the other day. The score for Transformers is great. And no matter how bad the movie is, and I really like the first Transformers movie. You all know that. I love the first Transformers movie. All the rest of them have sucked ass. But no matter how bad the movie is, when I see Optimus Prime rolling up and we hear that, do, 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 like I get chills. Like when Ann and I go to Universal Hollywood, the park down there, and we get close to the Transformers ride, they blare that theme music out over the speakers, right? And I get chills just hearing the music. So you're right. That's a great example of movies that I don't think are so good, but the score is fantastic. All right, Rodney Jackson writes, how do you think that Starbucks in Wakanda joke is going to play after current events? Think it will be cut? Never seen a joke age so poorly so fast. You know what? I think Rodney, you might have slipped in this question on an earlier show, but I'll give you the same answer I said before. I really don't know. First of all, they don't cut the joke. It is in the movie, which is not a spoiler because it's in the trailer. And nor should they have pulled the joke. Remember, this wasn't something that Starbucks did. This was the actions of one dude who no longer works for them. It was one dude did that thing. It wasn't Starbucks, and Starbucks was quick to act on it. So I don't think the company as a whole should be held responsible any more than, when an American does something horrible, that all Americans need to be held responsible. Like I just don't see it that way. It was the actions of one dude who has since been removed from the company, and the company then took swift action to try to make up for it. So first of all, they didn't remove it, nor do I think they should have removed it. Let's see. Trailblazer writes, With the announcement of Jet Li and Donnie Yen being in the live-action version of Disney's Mulan, do you think Jackie Chan should be included as Mulan's father, Fa Zhao? No, I do not. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't be in it, but if you're asking, should he be cast? No, the answer is absolutely no. There's nobody who should be cast. I don't agree with that at all. Just because, Donnie Yen and Jet Li, well, two other famous Asian guys, so they should put every famous Asian guy in it. No. That's not the way it works. Should that be the way it works? Now, if they did announce that Jackie Chan was going to be in it, that's great. I'd be all for it. I'm all for it. But should they, as if there's some sort of responsibility for them to put him in it? No, absolutely not. No. You just get a great actor, get somebody who's a good actor, and put them in there. I love Jet Li in that role. I love Donnie Yen in that role. I would be totally for Jackie Chan to be in it too, but should it be him? No. If it is, great, but there's no obligation for them to make it him, just because he happens to be a name that we recognize. So no, I disagree with that. ZCM writes, saw Ready Player One again, loved it. It's interesting to notice that the racing scene has no music until Wade finds how to get the first key. Why? You know what? I didn't even notice that. And I love Ready Player One. I just adored that movie. And it's funny because I never read the book, nor did I listen to the audiobook or anything. I just watched the movie. That was my first real exposure to the story, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But you know what? I was so enraptured with that race scene that I didn't even notice there was no score. Honestly, I didn't. I had no idea. So I can't answer why. I guess to me, the answer why, if that's true and there was no music, is because the sound design of it was so enrapturing. The visuals combined with the sound design was so enrapturing. They probably decided, you know what? Music right now wouldn't heighten it and might detract from it. Let's go that way. Now, I'm just speculating here. But and I think the fact that I don't even remember there not being music probably speaks to that. So that would be my best guess. All right. Next question comes to us from Phil Lee. And Phil Lee writes, over or under 3%. Hulk is with Avenger X. Gamora runs by. Avenger X asks Hulk, is she with you? Avengers movie sucker punch moment. Well, you know what? I want to be so careful. I don't even want to joke, because I have seen the movie. So I don't even want to joke about anything lest I be misinterpreted or misconstrued or anything like that. I want to be super hyper careful, even with jokes. I don't want to say a thing, Phil. I just don't want to say a thing. So I'm not even going to give the over or under on 3% because I'm just so afraid that even if I try to joke, I might say the wrong thing and somebody will take something the wrong way. Let's see. River Hippotuber writes, do you think VR movie theater experiences will ever catch on? And do you think it's something to be excited about as opposed to the BS 3D gimmick? It's too early to say. I'll say this. As of right now, the VR stuff has not matured enough. It just hasn't matured enough. I'm fascinated by the VR stuff, but I've fiddled around with VR stuff. I even bought myself VR gear and I got rid of it just because I used it once or twice. Thought, oh, this is cool. And then the novelty wore off. And I'm like, yeah. And then I just never used it for another 8 months. So I just ended up throwing it out. But I am fascinated with the possibilities of it. I just don't think it's matured to that point yet. So look, I have a hard enough time going into a movie theater and putting those damn 3D glasses on, let alone the idea of going into a movie theater and putting on a full headset. It's odd. And some people get headaches wearing 3D glasses. I don't. But what I did find is when I wore the virtual reality stuff for more than like 10 or 15 minutes, I start to get a little bit of a headache myself. And other stuff doesn't seem to do that to me. The VR stuff did. So I don't know. It's hard to say. And then, by the time the VR stuff does mature, another technology will probably come out and trump it. So it's really difficult to say at this point, but I just don't think they're close yet. I don't think they're close yet. Okay. Sisal1304 writes, hi, John. Shut up and take my money, version 2. Can't wait for Infinity War on Thursday. Going to try and do my damnedest to avoid spoilers. Hope you and the missus are doing well. And yeah, listen, seriously. I mentioned this on the show the other day, but every movie has some spoilers, but the reality is most of them don't have spoilers in them, right? Like Ant-Man, as much as I love Ant-Man, there's no real massive surprise in Ant-Man. Like, there's not a single fact you could find out about Ant-Man that just ruins the movie for you, right? Justice League, I like Justice League, but there's nothing in Justice League that's really a true spoiler. Like, if you found out about it, it just ruins the movie for you, ruins a part of the experience for you. Like, even a lot of great movies that I really enjoy, they don't have any real spoilers in them, right? Infinity War has about a dozen of big surprises and unforeseeable twists and stuff like that that are truly spoilers. So yes, more than most movies, do your damnedest to avoid spoilers if you can, because there's some great ones in the movie. Brian Garcia writes, are you expecting the Living Tribunal to be shown on film after they have mentioned him in Doctor Strange? Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, where are they going to go after Avengers 4? They're playing like Avengers 4 very close to the vest right now. So where do they go with that and all that kind of stuff? And, you know, how trippy do they want to be? How deep into that world do they want to go? I don't know if okay, I'll say this. Your wording is interesting, Brian, because are you expecting the Living Tribunal? I'm going to say I'm not expecting it, but I wouldn't bet money against it either. But from the way you worded the question, I'll say no, I'm not expecting it per se. But we'll have to wait and see. History Soup writes, would Feige risk his reputation with Warner/DC? Absolutely. No matter what new thing you do, because we talked on the show the other day, where this is coming from was that, you know, the concept of once Avengers 4 is done, could it theoretically be possible that Kevin Feige leaves Marvel and goes and does something else? Whether with it's Sony or Paramount or, hey, Warner Brothers and DC. Because I said, hey, he's going to go down in history as the guy as the architect of the MCU. But if he went to Warner Brothers and revitalized the DCEU and remade it and made it just as successful as the MCU, he'd be a god in Hollywood. He would just be an all-time god, small g, in this business. I mean, and there comes a point, the argument I was making before was that once Avengers 4 is done, what's left for Kevin Feige to do? He did it. He created the most successful cinematic universe in film history, where almost every film they put out knocked it out of the park, is a big hit with the fans, is a big hit with the critics, is a big hit with the box office. I mean, and they've done like, by the time Avengers 4 is done, they've had like, 22 films? What's left to do? What is there left to do? Except move on and take on a new challenge. And, you know, any new challenge, anything you try that's new, risk your reputation. I don't think Kevin Feige's the type of guy to just play it safe and say, well, I did it, now I'm just going to sit at home and not risk my reputation. Anything you risk, anything you try to do that could be big carries risk. And you got to be willing to accept risk. Chris Martin writes, thoughts on The Lone Ranger? I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the character itself? Or are you talking about the movie version with Johnny Depp? Are you talking about the old TV show? If you're talking about the movie, it was lame. It was terrible, which is kind of weird because my dad loved it. It's funny, go home and my dad's like, I don't understand what you critics talking about. I thought The Lone Ranger was great. My dad loves The Lone Ranger. I can't figure out why, but he does. He loves that movie. But me, I thought it was pretty much a waste. Rob Turner writes, take two. My favorite landmark is Sainsbury's Center, Avengers Training Base in Norwich. What is your favorite movie landmark in Burbank? I honestly don't know. I don't know any movie landmarks in Burbank. I just know that all the studios are here, but I don't know what the movie landmarks are. Bernard Gayton writes, love your show. Thank you so much, Bernard. How do you think Thanos will react when he finds out the Mind Stone he gave Loki is now embedded and empowers one of our heroes? Well, again, now that I've seen the movie, I can't even begin to answer, because I don't want to give anything away. So you ask a great question, but I cannot answer. I cannot say anything at this point to either correct or point to something or anything. I just got to play it safe because I do not want to risk letting anything slip. Alexander Helmer writes, damn you, John, in 24 hours, Christmas comes early for you. So this was obviously like one day before last night. So, yep, I got to go see it and it was a great time. Inferno writes, have you heard of the Blizzard game Overwatch? Oh, of course I have, absolutely. Have you watched their animated shorts? If yes, would you want to see a full movie? I doubt it. I haven't seen the shorts and I highly doubt I'd want to see a full movie. So no. I have not seen. Basically, video game stuff doesn't work. Don't know why. But no, I haven't had a chance to watch the animated stuff. The M Cluster writes, given your love of Mike Myers, how would you feel if he played Michael Myers in a Halloween movie? As in, he is behind the mask, not as a comedian. No. And I don't even know if you're just joking about that, but no, that's just lame gimmick. That would be just, first of all, he's way too short to do it. But no, I would not be interested in that whatsoever. Inferno writes, would you just want to take a minute and reflect on the loss of Tim Avicii Bergling, such a brilliant mind in the music industry and will be remembered? You know what? I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to be disrespectful, especially to a dude who's just passed away. So I'm just going to refrain from giving any commentary. But thank you for the comment. Hudson Smith writes, hey, John, have you seen Tombstone with Kurt Russell? Of course. It's a favorite of mine, Val Kilmer, Huckleberry. Freaking amazing in the movie. Oh, no, it like a lot of people consider, I mean, if it's not Iceman, it's Huck Finn, right? It's as Doc Holliday. Be your Huckleberry. It's probably the role. I mean, Val Kilmer's got a couple. Iceman, Jim Morrison, probably Doc Holliday. I mean, these are probably the roles he'll always be remembered for most. I'm probably, you know what, just to be safe, I'm probably forgetting about a couple of really big ones. By the way, I loved him in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Let's see. Yeah, I absolutely love Val Kilmer and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So, let's see. Of course he was in Heat, although that is one of the best movies he's been in. But of course, Heat's not really his movie per se. You know what I'm saying? It's not really his movie, so I don't know that that's the one that everybody remembers for. Of course, then there's Willow. How am I forgetting? Top Secret. Oh, I love Top Secret. It's one of my favorite spoof comedies of all time. We won't talk about his Batman movie so much, and we won't talk about the Saints so much. But yeah, I absolutely love Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell. I just love the movie. Tombstone's amazing. Okay, let's move on here. Big for Dem and Alfie Gamer writes, spoiler, Howard the Duck kills Thanos in Infinity War. Again, I'm not even going to joke about anything. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to say nothing about nothing, so nobody can misinterpret my nothing. Inferno writes, better Spartacus, Andy Whitfield or Liam McIntyre? Oh, that's no questions asked. Look, Liam McIntyre had a very difficult job. First of all, to come in and take over the leading role of an established show. That's tough enough as it is. But the circumstances under which he had to do it were daunting. You know, Andy was the guy who established who that character was, and then he passed away. And to have to step in, it's daunting and it's tough. And with all due respect to Liam McIntyre, who walked into an incredibly difficult situation, to be quite honest, I never really bought him as Spartacus. Andy, on the other hand, was Spartacus. And I remember, I've told this story before, but, you know, it was after the second season, and Andy was away because he had the cancer diagnosis, but he was in remission. And then he came to this Comic-Con party that I threw, and he was there, and got a chance to talk to him and hang out with him, and Anne's got pictures with him, and it was just a few months later that we found out he died. Because we thought he was in remission, and there was talking going on around the party, because Starz and the show Spartacus was one of the sponsors of the party that I was throwing. And they had like people there dressed as gladiators and everything. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, there's even chatter going around that Andy was coming back. He was coming back to play Spartacus again. And then it was just a few months after that he passed away. And it's really a shame because a dear friend of mine here in town, her name's Erin Cummings. She's an actress. She was in my movie, The Anniversary, but she played Spartacus's wife, Suri, in Spartacus. She played Andy's wife. And I know she was just devastated when we found out that Andy had passed away. But I mean, to me, it's not even close. It's no questions asked. All due respect to Liam, who did an admirable job under the most difficult of circumstances. But to me, it's not even close. That was Andy's role. It was Andy's role. Betty Bros writes, there was a thread comparing Jerome from Gotham and the Joker, The Dark Knight. People were literally saying Jerome was better. WTF is up with people. Hey, look, it's all subjective. It is. I think whoever tries to compare that Jerome farce on Gotham to Heath Ledger's Joker is a little bit out of their minds. It's all subjective at the end of the day. Your opinion's no better or worse than mine, but that doesn't stop me from thinking you're a little bit out of your mind. Because first of all, I didn't even like the Jerome character that much, let alone trying to compare him to Heath Ledger's Joker. I mean, that's just lunacy. That's just lunacy. But hey, if that's how you felt, that's how you felt. Inferno writes, best feel-good movie. In my opinion, Project X. I liked Project X. I wouldn't call it that. Best feel-good movie? I don't know. It all depends on your definition of feel-good, I suppose. I mean, that's not something I can answer off the top of my head. So the movie that makes me feel the best is probably 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's just the funniest, deep, insightful, feel-good kind of movie to me. So I'll go 40-Year-Old Virgin. But again, it all depends on your definition. I'd have to think about it. Ben Lewenowitz writes, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, John Candy, Steve Martin, man. My favorite comedy, 100% family friendly. Okay, I was going to say, what about, but rated R due to a 30-second F-bomb laced diatribe from Steve Martin. Is it worth it to cut down on potential audience, children/nuns? Well, I mean, I think there were a couple of other moments in the movie that weren't necessarily 100% family friendly too. I mean, you might as well just embrace it. And they went for it. And the most important thing is make the movie you want to make. And if that scene was part of the DNA to the movie to them, then you do it. And to hell with the rating. And if you were really worried about it, then cut it out. But I don't know what would have made that much of a difference, box office-wise, to it at the end of the day. And that scene is part of the reason why we all still talk about planes, trains, and automobiles. So I'd say leave it. I'd say leave it. You know what? Hold a second. Let me just look something up here. Let's see here. Hold a second. Hey there, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is my kicked in there. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to look up the name of the dude in this one thing, and I can't find it. So never mind about that. But anyway, I'd say not worth cutting it out. I don't think it would be worth cutting it out. Anthony R. writes, Chewbacca is a Skrull. Actually, Chewie dies in Solo. That would be the best fake rumor to start. Chewie dies in Solo. Obviously, everybody would have to think for a second, wait a minute, Solo happens before the events of Star Wars and he's alive. But it would be funny to drop that as a fake spoiler and see how people react to it. See how long it takes for it to click in that that's not actually possible. Betty Bros writes, if you don't make a Bass Ackwards shirt, I'll be sad. Yeah, so I am going to start making some shirts. And I've already got the one design. I don't have it available here right now. I've got the one design that I'm going to use. But Ass Backwards or Bass Ackwards, that might be one I have to use at some point. All right. Devontae Brown. Jim Cameron disappoints again with crazy comments. Yeah, we talked about that this week. James Cameron, look, it's one thing to say, I think superhero movie fatigue is going to set in. That's one thing. That's fine. But what James Cameron said was, I hope Avengers fatigue sets in. Because come on, we need some other movies. When he himself right now is working on 4 sequels to Avatar. He's complaining about original stuff in sci-fi when he himself is working on not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 sequels to the same damn movie. It's a bit hypocritical, but I went off on that whole thing. And I love James Cameron. Huge James Cameron fan. But he's getting into the habit of saying really stupid things lately, and I really wish he didn't. I just hope he learns how to just shut up. Because sometimes you got to do it, I got to do it. Sometimes you just got to shut up. And I think this is one of those times where he just needs to shut up. Kane Turan writes, lose-lose situation for Star Wars recasting Leia and Han. I mean, it really is in many ways. Because they needed to recast Han if they want to do the movie. And they decided to make that risk. With the Leia situation, you lose if you don't recast her because now you're not giving the Princess Leia character her true, proper ending to the story. You're going to do some bullshit like write her out off camera and say, oh, episode 9 starts with a funeral. That's how you're going to treat the Leia character? The Leia character that's been around for 40 years, that we have been with since the very first Star Wars movie, that's how you send her off? You should recast. But then if they do the right thing and recast, it's some people are going to get butthurt about it. So you're right. It is absolutely a lose-lose situation for them right now at the moment. All right, and the next question comes to us from History Super writes, Beyond was good, but with Earning Curve, reboot, Star Trek. Well, here's the thing about Star Trek Beyond. It was great. I loved it. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. And it was pretty much the most well-received out of the J.J. Abrams era of Star Trek movies. Now, it's also true that it made the least amount of money, and that's a type of trajectory you don't want to see. However, I still think Paramount feels like they can move forward with another one because even though the earnings went down, it was the best responded to out of all those Star Trek films. So they would have some precedent and some firm belief that if they did another one, the box office earnings would go up. Now, for whatever reason, Star Trek Into Darkness wasn't all that well received. I liked it, but I know a bunch of people didn't, and I think their displeasure with Star Trek Into Darkness showed in Star Trek Beyond's box office. In the same way, I think the fact that Star Trek Beyond was appreciated more by most people, I think that will reflect in the next movie. So, no, I don't think it's time to reboot. I think there is good enough justification here to do another one because I think we're going to see the box office in it turn around. But who knows? With the box office going down, it also justifies rebooting, but I don't think they're going to do that yet. Okay, next question comes to us from Manuel Fernandez, who writes, Can you please tell me your P.O. box? I want to send you Gravity Falls on Blu-ray and have to watch it. I really love you and Anne. I really think you and Anne would love it. Well, first of all, I have a Blu-ray player, but it's not even hooked up because I watch all my things on streaming. And as of right now, no, I don't have a P.O. box for people to physically send me stuff. I appreciate the gesture, though, Manuel, very, very much. But as of right now, I don't have a P.O. box that I can have people physically send me stuff. So I'm sorry about that. But thank you so much for the sentiment. I really appreciate that. Okay, Holy Jeebus writes, Hi, John. Have you checked out Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe that dropped on comicbook.com? The first 2 episodes are now out. I'll be honest with you, Holy Jeebus, I've never even heard of it. So, and frankly, it doesn't sound like something that would interest me. So I haven't heard of it. I've never even heard talked about. So no, I have certainly not seen it. Rakuz writes, good luck with the merch. Well, thank you so much. If it goes well, do you think you'll release the old lady conversation you had in the store on the t-shirt form? No, because that's too long of a conversation. I remember for some of you guys who might have watched the video, I told this story about this conversation I had with this older lady in the grocery store. And it ended with her saying to me, "You're damn right." You're goddamn right. It was hilarious. I'm not going to retell the story right now, but it seems like that would be a little bit long to retell on a t-shirt form. So I don't know that I'll include that one on a t-shirt, Recruise. Marcus Walker writes, John, have you ever seen the 1994 Roger Corman Fantastic Four film, as it is probably the most faithful? You know what? This question was brought up again today. I answered this question today, Marcus. As it's probably the most faithful adaptation to the source material and miles better than any of the 3 big budget adaptations. Well, I'm not going to go into my full answer again because I did answer this question earlier today. Which, by the way, guys, if you send in a question, don't forget, and it doesn't get answered on the live thing, you don't have to resend it in another show. Don't get me wrong, I love the support. Thank you so much. But it will get answered. I promise it will get answered. So just a quick summation of what I said on the show earlier. I disagree with you. I think the Corman thing, there was nothing redeemable about it, whereas the other Fantastic Four films, I do think there are redeeming qualities about them. So I disagree that it's as good, let alone better than the other ones, but that's just my opinion. You have yours. But again, I give a fuller kind of answer to that on the show earlier today. All right, next one comes to us from Jack Spittle, who writes, have you started following Peter W. from Deadpool 2 on Twitter yet? What a fantastic profile and great marketing idea. First of all, it is amazing how much Peter from the Deadpool 2 trailer has overnight become the internet sensation. And them launching a Twitter account for him is brilliant. Now, I haven't started following it yet. Anne has, so Anne has showed me a bunch of the things. And it's funny because the last time I checked, he only had 65,000 followers, which I think Peter could have millions of followers. If they do that right, that Twitter account could have millions of followers. And some of the stuff on it's pretty funny. So I haven't started following it yet, but Anne has. She's been showing me stuff. I think I'll probably follow it, though, pretty quickly here. Kane Erturan writes, do you think the Dark Phoenix might tie into the MCU because Dark Phoenix is an interdimensional being? No. Look, as of right now, they don't have any plans for how they're tying these things in. And Kevin Feige has publicly said, until the deal is complete, and we don't even know for sure that it'll ever become complete, it probably will, but until that deal becomes complete sometime next year, they're not even beginning to think about it. And they're certainly not planning it. So no, this Dark Phoenix that we're getting in this movie in no way ties into the MCU. There's no reason for Kevin Feige to lie about that. There's simply no purpose for him to lie about it at this point. So no, I do not think that's the case. That movie was being put together before there was ever a deal announced between Disney and Fox. So no, I don't think you're going to see a tie in there. Anything's possible though. Anything's possible. Like, for heaven's sakes, there's about 30 things that I said about Avengers Infinity War. People would bring up these like wild theories. And there's about 30 or 40 things that I said, no way, no way. But I also said, but you got to say anything's possible. And it's a good thing because about 3 of those things, I'm not going to say which ones, but about 3 out of those 20 or 30 things I said, no way that happens. About 3 of them do happen. So you always got to leave that room for error that, hey, you never know, anything's possible. But right now, I really don't think that's going to be the case. Alex Good writes, hey, John, love what you're doing on here. And I just wanted to ask what your favorite Colin Farrell film is and what you think is his most underrated film. Well, I'll tell you right now what I think his most underrated performance is. I think his most underrated performance is playing Bullseye in the Ben Affleck Daredevil. I think it's him playing that in Daredevil. That's, I think, his most underrated performance. As far as his most underrated movie goes, you know what? I know people poo-pooed on it because it was a remake of an Arnold classic. I liked Colin Farrell's Total Recall reboot. I did. I don't think it's his most underrated. I think his best is in Bruges. That's his best. But here's the thing. He was in a movie with Tom Hanks called Saving Mr. Banks. And I think Colin Farrell deserved an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He was in a movie with Tom Hanks and he stole the movie. So I think my favorite movie of his is probably In Bruges. Let's see. I didn't mind his Fright Night remake. I mean, Minority Report, but that's not his movie per se. Yeah, I'm going to stick with In Bruges as my favorite film of his altogether. Let's see. HV39000 writes, over under 10.5 questions you get about Iron Spider during the Infinity War spoiler discussion this weekend. I'll take the over. People love giving me shit about the Iron Spider stuff. They love giving me a hard time about that. And so 10.5 is a high number, but I'm going to take the over. I actually think I'm going to take the over on that one, HV3. Leader of Bats writes, why is Justice League considered a failure? I saw its earnings. It earned a decent amount of money. It didn't earn a decent amount of money. It made enough money to basically break even. I think a lot of people, and look, whenever you can go home at the end of the day and you at least break even, maybe even make a little bit of cabbage, that's got to be considered a good day. I think a lot of people will look at it as a failure though, because look what happened when you juxtaposition it against its most direct competitor, which is the MCU. You know, the MCU had its first number of films and then its big team up film, The Avengers. Well, the result of The Avengers was like high 80s or 90% Rotten Tomato ratings. Audiences loved it, and it made over $2 billion at the box office. So now the DCEU comes along, it has its first number of films, and then its big team-up movie, and it made less than 1/3. 1/3 of what Avengers did, like so many years prior. And on top of that, it made the least amount of money out of all the DCU films. Justice League, your big team-up movie, the movie that should be the granddaddy of your thing, the movie that should be the biggest box office hit out of all your DCU films because it's got Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg, and they're all there, and blah, 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 blah. And it ended up being the lowest grossing out of all their films. You put those things together, you've got a basis for looking at it negatively. And again, I don't think you should overplay the failure aspect of it because at the end of the day, it didn't lose any money. And that's not a bad day at the movies. But this was Justice League. To make 1/3 of what its competitor did is in the exact same type of circumstance. a bunch of build-up films to start, and then your first big team-up movie, MCU, $2 billion. DC, $650 million. So I think that's why people look at it pretty negatively. That and the fact that it was actually the lowest grossing of all the DCEU films. It's a tough one to look at positively. It's a tough one to look for the silver lining. Jeremy Rush writes, "Hey John, I think your life would make a cool romantic comedy." I think my life would make a cool comedy, and not so much about how much romance would be in it. I mean, Anne would make up for that part, for sure. But a comedy and a comedy of errors. I think my life would make a great comedy of errors. I think it's probably the best way to look at it. But once Anne comes into it, yeah, then it's a pretty good romantic comedy at that point. Patrick Conway writes, "Feige had the perfect response to James Cameron." Yeah, for those of you who didn't hear about this is great. So we already talked a little bit earlier about how James Cameron said, "I hope Avengers gets..." I mean, Cameron goes, "Look, I love those movies, but I really hope Avengers fatigue sets in here soon, blah, blah, blah." Kevin Feige's response was, "Cool, James Cameron loves our movies." And he just leaves it at that. Kevin Feige is such a great diplomat. He's such a great diplomat, as well as a brilliant filmmaker. It was the perfect response and a great way to diffuse that whole thing. Well done, Kevin Feige. Mercer Create writes, "Did Rey make Han look bad, i.e. job, on the Falcon in The Force Awakens?" No, not at all. Don't forget, she had been working on the Falcon for a number of years. So I think it was just showing that they needed that scene to make an impression on Han. Like they wanted Han to be impressed with her. And don't forget, she's been working on that ship for years. So it only made sense. So no, I never looked at it that way at all. I never at once interpreted that. Now, if she suddenly started out piloting Han, which she cannot do, that would have been different. But something like that, no, just showing her technical know-how because she's been working on that ship for years and Han's been away from it for a while, made total sense to me. I never looked at it that way. Leader of Bats writing, "What are you drinking?" This, I used to drink a lot of cola. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm drinking like 2 liters a day. That's a lot of calories. So then I switched to Diet Cola. And I got hooked on that for a long time. Then I started realizing all the crap that's in Diet Cola. So I found this stuff. It's called Zevia Cola. It has no artificial sweetener. It doesn't use sugar, and it doesn't use the artificial sweeteners that diet soda uses. It uses the stevia stuff, and it's apparently much, much better for you. And so I'm drinking Zevia Cola. You should look it up. It's an acquired taste, but I actually quite enjoy it now. And it keeps my throat loose, because if I try to go like more than like 30 plus minutes of straight talking. Now remember, it's different from back in the day when I used to be on a panel show. Because yeah, maybe a show was 40 minutes long, but I wasn't talking straight for 40 minutes. I would stop talking and other people would talk and my throat would rest, right? Doing the one-man show, if the show's 40 minutes, I'm talking 40 minutes straight. And I've got to be able to stop and sip on something that goes down. It keeps the throat loose, the whole type of thing, and it's good. And then, yeah, that's the stuff that I'm drinking right now. Let's see. CJ Adams writes, "Movie that scared you most as a kid?" Oh, that's simple. It's my all-time favorite horror movie to this day, the movie that I can't watch with the lights off, American Werewolf in London. Not to be confused with American Werewolf in Paris, American Werewolf in London. Jack Spittle writes, "Trivia question, John. Which famous rock star played Jack Sparrow's father in Pirates of the Caribbean franchise?" I'll answer your question with a question. Name the only rock star that would still be alive after the nuclear devastation, and it's only him and the cockroaches. And his answer was, "I'd eat the cockroaches." I'll let you guys think about that and about who that is. Famous guitarist, played with Keith Richards. Oh, I just said the answer. I meant to say played with Mick Jagger, and I gave the answer away. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's Keith Richards played his dad. It was great. It was a great cameo as well. Okay, Rodrigo Ortiz writes, "John, I'm assuming you mean John, were you a fan of Breaking Bad? Bryan Cranston is so great, so crazy to see him go from Hal to Heisenberg, brilliant actor." Yeah, I mean, he was absolutely great in the role, and I love Bryan Cranston's personality. I've interviewed him on several occasions, and he's one of the most fun guys. He's seriously one of the most fun guys to interview. And he's one of those few celebrities, you hear me mention this every once in a while about certain celebrities, Not many of them, but he's one of them. He's one of these celebrities that makes you feel like he's the one who's lucky that you want to interview him. Like a lot of the other celebrities, even the really nice ones, you get this feeling that they're doing you a favor by letting you interview them. And it's true. It's right. They are doing you a favor by letting you interview them. Bryan Cranston, though, is one of those guys who makes you feel like you're the one doing him a favor. Like he's crazy honored that you want to talk to him. And and maybe it's all an act, but it's a really considerate act to put on if it is an act. And he just makes you feel that way. Now, outside of like, say, Trumbo, which he was amazing in, he hasn't really been given a lot of opportunity to really flex his muscle. He was also in that, I think it was called The Last Flag, that he did with Steve Carell and Lawrence Fishburne. He was also very good in that. He was very good in Trumbo. But we haven't seen him get the opportunity to flex that talent very much. And I remember when Breaking Bad was ending, I had this big debate on one of the shows about somebody saying, no, Bryan Cranston is going to be a major A-list star even when Breaking Bad's done. And I said, he's got the talent for it, but there's not going to be a lot of roles, these prime A-list roles for Bryan with the place he's at in his career right now. So he's got the talent, but he's not going to get the opportunities. And history has kind of proven that at this point, which is too bad because when he gets the opportunity to show his talent, he's crazy good. David Obenauer writes, are you concerned with movie companies deleting scenes that are not politically or morally acceptable by today's standards? Yes, I am, because you are changing history. And I think even the bad things of history, we need to have those there as reminders. I think the darker shades of our history need to be maintained, not to glorify them, but to remind us. And I think they need to be there to remind us that, oh yeah, that is how our culture was. And we need to remember that this sort of thing was considered acceptable. I mean, we need to always be aware of these things. So I'm not a fan of cleaning up old stuff. I'm not a fan of that. I think that's risky. I think that's irresponsible, to be honest. Again, not so we can glorify the stupid things we used to do as a culture, but rather to be as a reminder of things. We should always be aware of it. So I don't think fostering ignorance is an answer to I never think fostering ignorance is an answer to any problem. So yeah, that's my feelings on that. Jack Spittle writes, how great would a Deadpool Christmas TV special be with a Deadpool monologue and special guest stars? No, it didn't work for Star Wars. And I don't think it would work for Deadpool either. I think that would be sacrilege to the character of Deadpool. So no, I would not be interested in that. Patrick Conway writes, thinking maybe Saldana was talking about Cameron. I don't know if she was talking about Cameron specifically. I don't know that she was talking about any one person specifically. I think for every one James Cameron that talks publicly about that stuff, there's probably 5 or 6 others that won't talk on camera about it. And that's cool. Hey, if you got an opinion like that, it's probably one you should keep to yourself. But hey, whatever. So I don't know that she was talking about Cameron, to be honest with you. She adores James Cameron. So, I mean, I know that. She adores James Cameron. So I really doubt she was talking about James Cameron specifically. But I think she was just talking more in general terms. Let's see here. David Zuckerman writes, if Toy Story 4 sucks, it would change it from being one of the best trilogies into 3 great films and 1 shitty one. Damaged IP. Sequels, reboots can be bad, right? Oh, I disagree with you completely. No. Look, The Phantom Menace came out, which was another Star Wars movie, and it's crap, but it does nothing to the original trilogy. The original trilogy is still the original trilogy. And its reputation, its legacy is not harmed one bit, no matter how good or bad future Star Wars movies are. It's still the original trilogy. Just like, if a bad remake comes out of one movie, it doesn't change how great the original was. It doesn't change it at all. So let's say Toy Story 4 comes out. It does nothing to the original 3. And the reputation that the original 3, which is a complete trilogy, the original 3 is one of the greatest trilogies ever made. It really is. And even if a 4th one sucked, it doesn't change that one little bit. Not one bit. Courtney Haynes writes, longest movie you remember watching that was so good that it seemed shorter than it actually was. I was enthralled by Denzel and Malcolm X, 3 hours. Probably go Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings always flies by for me. It just always flies by. And it doesn't matter if I'm watching the 3-hour version or the 4-hour version or whatever. That's a movie that just always flies by for me. Let's see. Ali Hussein writes, I know you're a busy man, but could you put the John Campea Show companion videos as audio edition in the Patreon page? I'm an audio listener and loyal Patreon supporter. No plans on doing that. Look, so being a Patreon supporter, we have... If you're a Patreon supporter at like the supporter level, then you have access to the John Campea Show podcast. Like we get to take the John Campea Show and we put it up in audio only podcast form. So you get daily John Campea audio only podcasts. That's not available to people who aren't Patreon supporters. Now, if you're the next level up from that and you're a team level supporter, you get the John Campea audio podcast and you get open mic. So you get both, you get like almost 2 hours of audio only podcasts a day if you're the team level. The companion videos are a new thing, so we haven't created anything like that for companion videos. You have to understand, it takes extra energy and work for us to take a thing, convert it into audio, get it tagged, upload it to the Patreon thing. I mean, that's just another step we have to do every day. So we're not including that right now. Probably won't be including that in the future. Maybe we'll make it a part of another level of Patreon support at some point. I'm not sure. But, hey, we promise that, hey, if you become a Patreon supporter, you get the John Campea Show audio only podcast. And we do that. If you become a team level supporter, you get the John Campea stuff and you get open mic. So we still provide that and we'll never change that. But if we ever do new stuff, that doesn't automatically get folded in there because it's extra energy and extra effort for us. Not a mountain of energy or effort, but when we're already working to the teeth, even just little things that have to be added on an almost daily basis really starts to add up. So right now, there's no plans to add the companion video to the audio only feed at this point. But who knows? I'm always open-minded to change my mind. Michael Jones writes, hey, John, Pantheon supporter. I think you meant Patreon. Autocorrect. First super chat. Oh, thanks so much, Michael. Over under 45% that Solo breaks Memorial Weekend record held by Pirates 3, 114 million.8. Or 114.8 million 3-day, 139.5 4-day. I don't care about the 4-day numbers. 114.8. There are some tracking numbers that are suggesting Solo's going to make 150, and I just have a hard time believing that. I think it's going to be closer to 100. So 114.8 is within striking distance. At 45%, because of how close it is, and those I'm guessing 100 million, give or take 10%, that puts it to about 110. If you're going to set the over under on 45%, I'll take the over on 45%. I'll take the over on 45% that it can break the 114.8. Now, if you set the over and under at 60%, I probably would have taken the under. But at 45%, I think the math lines up that I will take the over on that. Orioles 910 writes, why didn't the Sorcerer Supreme help Captain with World War II? Wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme's place? Wong says in the first Doctor Strange movie, people like the Avengers deal with physical threats. The sorcerers deal with mystical threats. And World War II was simply probably not the Sorcerer Supreme's place to take a side even in that. That's an interworld problem. And it's not a mystical threat. And again, according to Wong, that's not the sorcerer's role, is to not get involved in that kind of stuff. So I'm guessing that's why the Sorcerer Supreme didn't help with Cap in World War II. DeQuincy Travis writes, 25% over under, we see Captain Marvel in Infinity War. Thoughts? Well, I've seen Infinity War, so I can't give you an answer. I'm not even going to pretend to give an answer because I don't want to give anything away. Sindre Teslo Kaldal writes, have a filthy day, no need to pronounce my name. Well, I took a shot at it anyway. Let me know sometime how well I did. And I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Oh my God. Kevin, am I right? Yeah. Kevin Brown writes, have you ever seen Mr. Brooks? I love Mr. Brooks. Stars Demi Moore and Kevin Costner. I think it's way undervalued. Amazing movie aside from Dane Cook. Highly recommended. I made an argument that year honestly, and I stand by this today, Kevin Costner should have gotten nominated for an Academy Award for his performance in Mr. Brooks. He's fantastic in it. You're right, Dane Cook, not so great, but you know what? Dane Cook wasn't horrible in it. Wasn't horrible. Not great, but not horrible either. But Costner deserved an Academy Award nomination for that movie. I've said it for years. I will always say it. He is brilliant in that movie. If you haven't seen Mr. Brooks, check it out. Especially if you're a fan of stuff like Dexter or whatever, check out Mr. Brooks. I think you'll really enjoy it. Rami J. Royster writes, after Avengers 4, what other MCU will be released after that? Well, we know that the first movie to come out after Avengers 4 is Spider-Man Homecoming 2, although it's not going to be called Homecoming 2, but right now that's just how it's referred to. We know that's the one, but that's the only one that we know of. We don't know of any others. I think Marvel has plans for others. Like we got Ant-Man coming up, and then after Ant-Man we got Captain Marvel, then we got Avengers 4, and then we got Spider-Man Homecoming 2. What comes after that, they haven't made anything official yet at this point. Andrew Reyes writes, sorry if I startled you and Anne a couple of days ago at that stoplight. Oh, that's right. I was just so excited to see you guys. You know, we often have people, whether we're at movie premieres or walking down the street, we often have people come up to us and say hi to us, which is great. But that was the first the other day. Anne and I are in a car. I think we're coming back from lunch or something. And we're at a stoplight. And we hear this guy, and our windows are rolled up. We hear this guy, John, Ann. And we look over it, and there's this dude in the car next to us who I guess saw us through our window and was waving, and we rolled our windows down to say hi. So I'm guessing that was you, Andrew. Thank you for saying hi. That was really nice of you. I always get a real kick out of meeting people. And I honestly, all these years I've been doing this, I'm so overwhelmed when we're at a movie theater or we're out on the street or whatever, and when you guys see us and come up and talk to me. I just, you make me feel like $1 million. You really do. I always feel so awkward because I'm socially awkward, but at the same time, it really does make me feel like $1 million. That you would bother to stop what you're doing and come over and say hi to me because you recognize me. It's still kind of crazy. I still haven't completely wrapped my head around it, but I'm very, very grateful. So thanks for saying hi the other day, Andrew. Andres Mendez 2 writes, Feige said they're skipping Hall H this year. Yeah, we talked about this on the John Campea show the other day. He has said there's no Hall H presentation for Marvel this year, which is really odd, but I guess they don't really have anything to reveal right now. They did say they're going to do MCU 10th anniversary, something for it, but not Hall H. So I'm not quite sure what they're going to do, but yep, no big Marvel Hall H panel this year. Marvel Diesel writes, love the show, GC. That's Giovanni Campea. That's me. Didn't see if you answered my question before, but better actor, Daniel Day or the Street Monster? I did answer that question the other day. It's a tight one to call, but I'm going to go Daniel Day-Lewis. I think he's the greatest actor, male or female, of all time. Certainly you can make an argument for the Street Monster. No doubt about it. She is the best, one of the best of all time. But if I had to take Daniel Day-Lewis or her, I'm going to go Daniel Day-Lewis over everybody. So I went Daniel Day-Lewis. Let's see. Nathan Chung writes, do you think Namor will be in Black Panther 2? No, I do not. I'm not expecting that at all. Anything is possible. We've seen crazier things happen. But right now, there are still massive confusing rights issues going on with Namor. Marvel's got some of the rights stuff sorted out, but I don't think all of them. And until they do, that's always going to be problematic. So I don't think so. Josh DeRose writes, do you have a Mount Rushmore of active athletes? Mine are LeBron, Messi, McDavid, and Brady. Thanks and stay filthy. I might replace McDavid with Sid the Kid. I'd replace McDavid with Crosby, but I mean, McDavid's not a bad one to have on there too. That's a pretty good list. I don't personally think of it in those terms, so I've never really put together my own Mount Rushmore of current athletes, but those sound pretty good. Motorolin writes, morning, John. Me and my wife are expecting our own little critic in December. That's awesome. Congratulations, man. It reminds me, this one time I had this woman email me and say, hey, John, my husband's a huge fan. And we watch your show, but my husband's just a psychotic fan of yours. And we are trying to have a kid. And she said, I'm just wondering if when I find out that I'm pregnant, can I let you know first and then have you announce it on the show, and that's how I'll tell my husband about it. And I was just floored by that. So I said, sure. Sure enough, a couple months later, I get an email from her again. She says, I'm pregnant. It's time for us to tell my husband. So the next show I did and said, by the way, dude, I've got a viewer named so-and-so. Just want to let you know, you and your wife are expecting. It was a lot of fun. It was huge. Some of you probably watched that show. It was huge honor. So congratulations to you guys. That's really exciting. Thanks for sharing that with the rest of us, man. Donnie Yasu writes, do you watch Westworld? Last night's premiere made me think it can fill my Game of Thrones void. I watched season 1 of Westworld, and I've got to say I wasn't thrilled with it. There are certainly episodes that were really good, but there was also a whole bunch of episodes that were just, like I thought they were just snore fests. The finale was great. So I am interested in watching season 2. It just debuted. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I'll probably do that this week. So I'm not ready to say it's filling my Game of Thrones void. Not that I'm the biggest Game of Thrones fan either, but I certainly like Game of Thrones more than Westworld. Because I'm not thrilled with Westworld yet, but I'm hearing great things about the season premiere this year. But again, I haven't had a chance to get around to watching it, so hopefully soon. Edgar Navarro writes, was the time set for the Avengers video on Sunday? Yes. Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 5 p.m. on the East Coast. Ann and I are going to do our 2-hour Avengers Infinity War all open spoiler discussion video. And I hope you guys will join us for that. It's going to be fun. We're just going to, all of us as movie fans, we're just going to talk openly about the movie, talk about all that kind of stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, that's Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Andy A. Hernandez writes, Happy Rusev Day, and Happy Rusev Day to you too, my friends, as people all around the world celebrate Rusev Day. Jordan Benjamin writes, you got the Soul Stone. Very sneaky, Giovanni. Oh yeah, because you can see it right here. There's my Infinity Gauntlet right there. You just barely had a picture, and it's got the Soul Stone in it. It's great. Thank you I'm glad you noticed. Goku Son Dragon Ball Z writes, more happy wishes for Happy Rusev Day. It's Rusev Day. Charlie Zakari writes, John, you inspired me to leave the corporate overlords and pursue my writing dreams. Enjoy Infinity War for all of us sweaties tonight. My sweat is actually tears. Well, thank you so much, Charlie, and I'm super thrilled for you. I hope you have every success. You got a long road ahead of you. It's tough. It's not easy. There's a high failure rate. But you got to do what you think is best for you, and I'm really happy you could do that. And I'm really excited for you guys being able to watch Infinity War for yourselves. I think you're going to be happy. Let's see here. Orok Usaki writes, did you watch Batmeal Forever video I told you about? Nope, I still haven't gotten around to watching it, I'll be honest with you. I will keep it on my radar, but I have not gotten around to watching it yet, just being honest with you. But keep telling me about it. Let's see. Jordan Bow writes, have you ever watched Predestination with Ethan Hawke? It is a very strange film. It's one of Hawke's stranger ones. And Hawke, look, Handsome Hawke has been in some peculiar films. He has. That is an odd one as well. The other one, what was that vampire one he did? Hold a second. Let me... I'm trying to remember the name of this vampire one that he did. Why can't I find it? It's not Love. It's Daybreakers. Daybreakers is a real weird one for me. But I was oddly bound to it. Like, I can't really explain why, but I was like really oddly bound to it. And to this day, I'm still kind of fascinated. It's not even all that good, but when I'm flipping through channels like on YouTube TV and I flip through it, and I see Daybreakers is on, I got to stop and watch it. I don't know why. I've got this weird connection to it. It's really weird. Darth Impact writes, wanted to say this yesterday, but ran out of time. Anyway, we will always see Jedi Force ghosts. How come we don't see any Sith Force ghosts? Just wondering. Well, it's just something, it's a technique or it's a skill that was learned by Jedi and not learned by Sith, I guess. Like even Yoda didn't learn about it until like way late. And Qui-Gon was the first one to really tap into it in that era, at any rate. So it's relatively speaking, since being rediscovered, it's relatively new to everybody. So it's really not, I don't find it that odd that we haven't seen it with the Sith. And who knows, maybe ultimately we'll find out that is a specific Jedi skill as opposed to maybe not a Sith skill. Because we see some things that Sith can do that Jedi can't, right? So maybe it goes both ways. D. Walthers writes, "Hey John, just dropped in to say you and Ann have fun at the premiere tonight." This obviously was something that came in yesterday. If you see Robert Downey Jr. there, which I did, if you see Robert Downey Jr. there, that I think Tony is Lord and Savior for sure. And it was fun. When they brought the whole cast out on stage, they had Robert Downey Jr., who was the star of the first MCU movie. They had Robert Downey Jr. come out and give a speech. And it was a little all over the place, but the sentiment was really good. So it was really cool seeing him up there giving a speech, not just there with him, but with all these MCU actors around him now. So it was a really cool experience to see him there. I didn't have a chance to talk to him last night or anything like that, but he was definitely there, and he definitely had a strong presence at the premiere. I Am Blue writes, "Saw Ready Player One at Samsung's LED video wall in Chatsworth. Stunning experience, clearer than IMAX in my opinion. No projector, it's just a screen." We did a story about this the other day, how they even Samsung just launched its first 3D screen. Then again, it's not a projector, it's just a giant LED television screen. And they're saying the image on it is ridiculous. The thing to me is I can't even fathom how expensive that screen is. Because even if you just go into Best Buy, right? If you want to buy a 70-inch screen, it's I don't know, $1,500. You just want to go up 10 more inches to an 80-inch screen. Now you've gone from $1,500 to $3,000 by going up 10 inches. These things that are 40 feet long, or however many feet long they are, I cannot even begin to imagine how expensive these things are. They're probably pretty cost prohibitive, but it is pretty good because apparently the image is amazing. You don't need a projector, and it just gives you a lot more flexibility. I just think there's probably pretty cost prohibitive, I would think at this point, but who knows? I hope it catches on. Little Nerdy Birdie writes, "Have fun at the Infinity War. So jealous. Seeing it Friday at 7. Well, I'm glad you're going to see it. Friday at 7 is coming up pretty damn soon, so I hope you guys have a really good time at it." John De Silva writes, "Don't want or need a death, but I'll guess Thor dying in battle with Thanos, falling to avenge his brother, and people who also die." I'm not saying anything. I've seen the movie, so I'm not saying anything. I will tell you this, though, because I said it in my review. Thanos is clearly the biggest character in the movie. There's more screen time on Thanos. This is Thanos' movie. The second most important character in this movie, I feel like the character they spend the next most amount of time on is Thor. I think Thor is the second most important character in this movie. I'm not going to say anything other than that, and I'm just going to move on. Jordan Benjamin writes, "Enjoy your premiere, guys. I'm jealous as hell. We had a great time. Thanks for the well wishes." D. Wathers writes, "Tell our DJ." Oh, don't worry about it, D. I understood what you said. I understand where you're going with that. Brian Adams is better than Bruce Springsteen writes, "I highly recommend watching Game of Thrones all the way through again when and if you get the chance. Loved it so much more the second and third time through." You know what? I'm thinking about doing that. I had this idea back when I worked with my old company. I had this idea of starting a recap of Game of Thrones, going back all the way to season 1. And starting at season 1, because there's just enough time to do every single episode from season 1 up until the end of last season, just in time for the new season when it finally comes out and starts. And I left before that ever came to fruition. I don't know if they ever really did something like that, but I'm thinking about doing something like that. Like me starting right with Game of Thrones season 1, kind of as a fresh eyes guy, and just going through it and then talking about it with you guys on the show. So maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea, I'm not really sure, but it's just interesting. That's something I've been thinking about. Okay, maybe one name writes, "Without a Hall H panel, do you think Marvel will have anything big to show at D23 later this year?" Probably Ant-Man, well, when is it again? When is D23? Hold on a second. D23 dates. Date. Oh, you know what? It's not till 2019. Yeah, I don't think there is a D23 this year. I think the next D23 is 2019. So hold on a second. Let me just make sure about that. I don't think there's a 2000. Yeah. Am I wrong about that? I don't know. Is there a D23 this year? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I can't. No, I don't think there's a D23 this year. I think the next big one's in 2019. I could be wrong about that, but I think so. So the answer is they don't need to do anything. Buck Lodi writes, over under 70%, there are spoiler reviews tomorrow. Oh, I'm sure there are going to be spoiler reviews out. I'm sure of it. There are going to be spoiler reviews out before the movie comes out. I mean, there shouldn't be, but hey, whatever. People have the right to do that if they want to do it. Curtis Lopez writes, did you hear what happened to Steve Weintraub at the Infinity War junket? An actor was rude to him and the studio had to apologize to Frosty. It was that bad. Look, I've got several. First of all, let's be clear. I wasn't there. All right? So my opinion means very little because I wasn't there. I have a couple of thoughts about that, since you're bringing it up. One, I have never liked the way, and look, I have had some very frank discussions with Frosty about this. Frosty and I have two very different philosophies about press junkets. My philosophy is, hey, the studio is kind enough to invite you to their press junket. Go and talk to them about their movie. It just seems like common courtesy to me. Frosty has a completely different philosophy. He tends to use those junkets as a really desperate attempt to get scoops out of people. So he'll spend half the interview time talking to actors about completely different movies that have nothing to do. Like the studio invited, this is just my philosophy. The studio invited you to come to talk to talent and cast. Now I stopped doing junkets, so I really didn't care, but I had this philosophy and I would tell people that would work for me as well. Like when people were working for me back at AMC and they were going to go to these junkets, I had a rule. You only ask them about this movie. You only ask them about this movie. That's what they're inviting us to talk about. Only ask them about this movie. And that was our rule. Frosty's philosophy was different. His philosophy was use this as an opportunity to try to dig scoops out of people. So if he was there interviewing one actor about that studio's movie, he would just go completely away from that movie and start giving these digging questions to the actors about other movies they have coming out with other studios. Personally, I found that rude. And so when I read the story about, Steve got on Twitter and started whining and complaining like a giant baby, that, oh no, an actor was rude to me. A part of me, I got to admit, and again, I wasn't there. So maybe something really bad happened. To be fair, I will admit that the first thing in my head was I can just see probably an actor getting annoyed with him that he was probably digging for scoops about other movies. Instead of being there to talk professionally about that movie, he was probably digging for scoops and it probably pissed one of the actors off. That's the first thing that went through my head. And maybe that's completely wrong. Maybe I'm way off base on that. It's totally possible I'm completely off base on that. So take that with a giant grain of salt. But the other thing to me is, okay, you and somebody one-on-one have a bad interaction. Your first thought is to jump on Twitter and whine about it? Really? Like that's your first reaction? Jump on Twitter and cry about it? But you know what? In Frosty's defense, we all do things in the spur of the moment that maybe are pretty stupid and we shouldn't do. And in Frosty's defense, from what I understood, he later deleted those tweets. Because, hey, you know what? I think we all find ourselves, we do or say something stupid, and then we think more clearly about it and we realize, and we pull something down. I think we've all been there, right? So in Frosty's defense, he did pull those tweets down. So, I mean, good on him for that. But again, I wasn't there. For all I know, Frosty completely had it coming. For all I know, he completely didn't. So it's really tough to have any sort of opinion when all we're hearing was his side of the story because he's the one who jumped on Twitter and started writing about it. So I'm not going to think overly negative. Like, again, I admit my first place my head went was he was probably rudely trying to dig for scoops about other projects, but maybe that's not the case at all, and I could be way off about that. And, yeah, he shouldn't have hopped online and cried about it, but you know what? We all do things that we then later think, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And to his credit, he went then and pulled it down. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. But again, I can't really give anything because I wasn't there. I wasn't there. Holid Love writes, it's a very smart marketing move by Marvel Studios to have the world premiere and the worldwide release of Infinity War to coincide with Rusev Day. That's right, because now everybody knows Rusev Day. And whenever Rusev Day comes around, we'll always think about Infinity War because it launched on Rusev Day. You're right. That was great foresight. Great foresight on their behalf. Maybe One Name writes, if you had to make a God of War movie, would you start with the first game or the new one because of its stronger story? Neither. I would just get a writer and say, write your best story. That's how I go. Forget the game. Draw as much from the game as you want or draw as little from the game as you want. Just make sure you're capturing the spirit of the game. And as long as you do that, write your best story. That's what I would, if I was a producer and I was hiring and I had the rights and I was hiring a writer, I would literally just tell them, write your best story. Whatever they did in game one and whatever they do for this new game, and I haven't seen the new game yet, but these were made for video games. They weren't made for a movie screen. Draw on whatever you want to draw on. Leave out as much as you want to leave out. Just make sure you capture the spirit of the game and tell your best story and then impress me. That's what I would do. So I wouldn't go with either one of those two personally. Spider Storms Films writes, hey John, are you going to the Infinity War premiere tonight? And should I stay away from social media during spoilers leaking? Thanks. Yes, stay off of social media. That's the best thing I can do, especially once now we've got Forbes just throwing out spoilers for all the trolls to take and spread them around. Stay off social media. And yes, I did go to the premiere last night and it was much fun. Thank you for asking. Antoine writes, could we retroactively call Fox Film Disney Films? No, no, because Fox Films will always be Fox Films. You can't call them Disney Films at that point. Not to mention, we don't even know if Disney will be able to take over Fox. That's still kind of up in the air a little bit. It'll probably happen, but it's still a little bit up in the air. Valeria262 writes, finally watched Ready Player One, and I gotta say, I really didn't enjoy it. Maybe I was too hyped, but I found the story cliche, which isn't a big problem, but I always got sucked out by the Avatar's CGI. Oh, that's unfortunate, Valeria, but you know what? That just goes to prove, again, we always talk about it. It's the subjectivity of film. No matter how much you love a film, there are going to be people who don't. And no matter how much you hate a film, there are going to be some other people that do like it. And that's just it. And it doesn't matter how many of us like Ready Player One. If you watched it and your experience with it wasn't all that positive, then it wasn't all that positive. And that's unfortunate. I wish you had a better time with it than you did, but you didn't, and that's totally legit. So you got nothing to apologize for at all. But yeah, I'm really sorry that you didn't have the same type of experience with it that I did, because I got to tell you, I had a great time with that movie. I absolutely loved it. And the Avatar stuff totally worked for me, but it didn't work for you. That's really, that's unfortunate. I wish you had a better time with it. But thanks for sharing your thoughts. I appreciate that. Comic Doctor writes, I have 2 tickets to the Leafs Bruins game. You got to miss the Avengers premiere. What do? You know what? If it's the finals, I'm skipping the Avengers premiere. If you had tickets, it doesn't matter if it's to Game 7, Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5, Game 6, Game 7. If you had tickets and it was the Stanley Cup finals, I'm skipping I'm totally skipping the Avengers premiere. If it's the first round of the playoffs and I don't expect the Leafs to win, then no, I'm not skipping the Avengers premiere for a first round of the playoffs game. So that's just me. All right. K Major writes, hey John, I'm disconnecting myself from social media for this week to avoid spoilers. It's so necessary. So see you on Saturday, pal. I'm going to binge your show on Saturday, so enjoy the premiere. Well, listen, you can still watch my show. Just don't look at the chat board. Just keep the chat board hidden. Don't watch the chat board and you're totally good, because I'm certainly not going to spoil anything. But staying off of social media, like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, staying off it till Saturday or whenever you're going to see the movie is probably the right choice. Because once again, we got Forbes, like a bunch of jackasses, just perpetuating and proliferating the spread of spoilers by making sure they're arming all the trolls. They put in this article, hey guys, here's a point by point of every spoiler in the movie for all the trolls to come and get and go around and start spreading it on chat boards everywhere. So yeah, bravo Forbes, well done, you bunch of jackasses. Anyway, so you're probably doing the right thing to just stay off all social media. It's probably the right thing that you're gonna have to do, unfortunately. All right, next one comes to us from DeQuincy Travis, who writes, big fan. Who'd be a bigger Infinity War surprise? Captain Marvel, Adam Warlock, or Quicksilver? For me, biggest surprise is Warlock, but Captain Marvel would be fire symbols. Well, again, I have seen the movie, so I'm not gonna say a word. I'm not even gonna pretend to joke around just in case I give something away. So I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say a word. Wait till you see the movie, and then you'll see. Stephen Mattern writes, will you review Batman Ninja? You know, I wasn't going to. I had no plans on it, but I've had a few people mentioning it. I'll consider it. If I get more people asking me to review it, I'll consider it. I wasn't planning on it because I really don't like the animated stuff that much. There's the odd exception. You know, Dark Knight Returns is an exception. The Doctor Strange animated thing is an exception. There are some exceptions on both the DC and the Marvel side, but generally speaking, I don't like DC or Marvel's animated stuff that much. So I wasn't planning on even watching it, let alone reviewing it, but maybe I will. C10 Joker writes, can we for a moment talk about how crazy this is? I mean, it's easy to say now the MCU films have been all mostly successful, but to look back to 2007 and think an Iron Man film would lead us here. And yeah, I mean, it's absolutely nuts. The success of the first Iron Man film, and clearly they already had a plan because that movie, the post-credit scene, is Nick Fury showing up and going, I want to talk to you about something we got called the Avengers Initiative. I mean, so they had the plan, but it is, I think we take for granted and don't appreciate how big of a thing this is. Just how big and successful and what a behemoth this whole MCU thing has become. It is mind-boggling, and I think you're right, C10 Joker, for saying, look, we need to take a breath here for a second and really appreciate how crazy this is. Because I think we have now, with like 19 films in, I think we've just taken for granted just how, new MCU film, it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be successful, and it's going to be popular, and people are going to love it, and we just take it for granted, and we need to stop and take a breath and appreciate just what a huge thing this is, how crazy this is. You're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right about that. All right. K Major writes, Ron Swanson style. I'm wondering if you're talking about my t-shirt. I've got that Ron Swanson t-shirt where he's dropped like Han Solo and it's called Ron Solo. Ron Swanson is one of my all-time favorite television characters. He's from Parks and Rec, played by Nick Offerman. Played brilliantly by Nick Offerman. And so, Swanson style. Beto Robles writes, hola, John. I'm going to the AMC Infinity War movie marathon, 31 hours. You are a brave soul, dude. What do you think? Oh, by the way, it is sold out, so hyped. Look, I have all the admiration in the world. When they announced this thing, I said, look, hats off and a full salute to all of you guys who are going to go and do that. I couldn't. Not 31 hours. I just wouldn't. First of all, I would be tired. I would start to smell. I'd be hungry. But on top of that, this is just for me personally. By the time we got to Infinity War, I would want to be alert, awake, and sharp, and ready to take in everything. And if I try to do like that 31-hour thing, like maybe you can do stuff like that, and that's great. When I was like 19, maybe I could have too. But once you turn 20, it's like 31 hours, I would have just been a driveling zombie by the time Infinity War started, and I would want to be sharp for it. So you are a braver soul than me, and I salute you. I hope you have a great time. I hope you have a really, really fun, great time. Try to plan a break or two, though, to make sure you stay sharp, so when Infinity War starts, you're ready to enjoy it. Valeria626 writes, for me, the opening crawl for Star Wars has always taken me out of the film. Impressive considering the film hasn't even started yet. Well, you look, here's the other thing, Valeria. I mean, all due respect, it's film subjective. And if that's what happens to you when you see it, that's what happens to you. I feel completely the opposite. To me, it is the identifying DNA marker of a Star Wars film, is that opening crawl. No other films have opening crawls. It is the most uniquely Star Wars thing. As a motion picture, right off the bat, it takes you into that universe. So I appreciate that you feel differently, and that's cool, but I completely disagree with you on that. Royce Freeman writes, has a famous actor had a cameo playing an incidental character that anyone could have played, and it's taken you out of the movie? I remember this one time, and it was Star Trek. Which Star Trek was it? Was it Voyage Home? I can't remember which Star Trek movie it was, but anyway, there's a scene where Sulu is the captain of his own. I think he's the captain of the Excelsior, I think. Anyway, and Sulu is sleeping. Captain Sulu is sleeping in his quarters, and an ensign comes and knocks on his door, and in walks an ensign just to give him a message, and it's Christian Slater, who was a big star at the time. And that was it. He was just, and I remember that as like, oh my gosh, that's Christian Slater. And that's all you kind of thought about at the moment. So that's one moment. For the most part, it never really bothers me. It doesn't normally take me out of it, but that would probably be one time that I can kind of think of off the top of my head that it did that to me. Jonathan Blaza writes, curious how Loki reacts to meeting with Gamora, Nebula, and Black Order. He's worked with Thanos before. I have a feeling he's met some of the family. Again, I've seen the movie. Totally great question. Great question. But I can't say a thing. I can't even whisper a thing. I can't even joke about it because I don't want to risk giving anything away. Jonathan Blaza follows up. I know the movies don't necessarily follow the comics, but there is precedent for Nebula having the key role in bringing Thanos down. Thoughts on Nebula wielding the gauntlet in Infinity War or Avengers 4? Again, unfortunately, you sent in this question just before I went to go see Infinity War, but now I've seen it and I cannot say a word. Again, great topic of conversation, but I'm not going to say a thing. So you guys just talk amongst yourselves about that. What do you think about Jonathan Blass's query there? How do you think that's going to work out? You guys discuss amongst yourselves. I can't say a thing. Kevin Campbell writes, got any info on the multiple Star Trek 4 scripts in development? Well, this is what we know. According to Simon Pegg, we already know Simon Pegg, who wrote Star Trek Beyond. We know that Quentin Tarantino is having a script put together based on a story idea he had. So there's that being put together. Simon Pegg let us know that there are actually multiple scripts being put together. It's not just the script based on Quentin Tarantino's idea. There's other scripts being put together too. That's not unusual, but it's just important to point out because I think a lot of people think about the Star Trek thing. They only think, yeah, the Quentin Tarantino thing's being put together. It's not just the Tarantino idea. There are other ideas being written out by other writers at the same time. As far as what information we have, no idea beyond that. That's the last thing that I heard, is that multiple scripts are being developed and they'll probably pick a direction after that. So they're probably not rebooting and we're going to get something, and I think we're going to probably find out here pretty soon. I think we'll find out pretty soon. And, you know, I think they're going to see whatever this idea was that Tarantino had. They're going to see once a screenwriter actually writes it out and starts to flesh it out, does it work or not? And if it's not really working, they'll go and look at another script that they're having put together. And then they'll just pick whatever they think is going to work best. But that's the most information that I have on that right now. John's Ham writes, did you see Adam Sandler's film, The Merowitz Stories? Yeah, with Ben Stiller. I found his work in that film to be great, and him working with the Safdie brothers next has me excited. Here's the thing about Adam Sandler. And I've been saying this for years. Ever since he did this little film called Reign Over Me. R-E-I-G-N, Reign. Reign Over Me. If you have not seen it, it is the single greatest performance Adam Sandler has ever given. And it was a flare shot into the air announcing to the world that Adam Sandler has legit dramatic acting chops. Like great acting chops. And ever since that movie, I have been heartbroken watching him continuously going back and make shitty comedy after shitty comedy after shitty comedy. When he has clearly I mean, his best comedy days are behind him, clearly. Which is fine because we've discovered he's got this incredible dramatic talent. And I have been lamenting for years that he doesn't do more dramatically, because I just think he's got a load of talent. Like, so much so, if he really worked at it for a few years, we could hear him getting Oscar nominations at some point. I just think he's got that much natural talent as an actor. Anyway, he showed it again in this Netflix film. He showed it again, and not surprised by that. I hope it signals him getting away from these crappy pieces of shit comedies he's been trying to do, and just go put your foot to the floor on this one. Go in the dramatic thing, because he's got loads of talent there. I would love to see him do more stuff like that. Metal Gear Kieran writes, if the Fox Disney deal falls through, can you see the X-Men characters getting a soft reboot like Colossus via the Deadpool franchise? They don't need the Deadpool franchise. The X-Men franchise has soft rebooted in every single episode they do. Oh, what? Tyler Mane's Sabretooth? Well, now Sabretooth is Liev Schreiber. What? This guy is... what's the Toad's name? Why... I'm so mad at myself right now. Why I cannot remember the name of this character. It's killing me right now. It's the name of the character that's Stephen Merchant played. Caliban. So, yeah. Caliban's being played by this actor? Well, now he's being played by this actor. Oh, this character does this here? Well, now this character does this here. They literally... There have been elements of the X-Men franchises that have soft rebooted every single movie. So they don't need a Deadpool to soft reboot anything. Remember, I've always said this jokingly, but it's true. At Fox, the slogan when it comes to the X-Men universe is continuity schmontinuity. They really don't care about continuity. They never have. And it's worked out fine for them. So they don't need a Deadpool thing to soft reboot their characters, or hard reboot if they really want to. Jamie Hutchinson writes, who should play Nova if we get a movie? Well, Jamie, I'm going to give you the same answer I give everybody when they ask, which actor should play this role? My same answer to that every time is, I don't care. I don't care. Any actor who's a good, talented actor. If you name an actor to me who's a good actor, there's 100 different names. I'll go, yeah, that'll work. You want Jake Gyllenhaal's Nova? That'll work. You want a Chris Pratt as Nova? That'll work. You want a Michael B. Jordan as Nova? That'll work. You want a, I don't know, who's another actor whose name I could pull out? Whoever, whatever. That's really, so I generally, whenever somebody asks me which actor should play X role, my answer is always the same. I don't care. As long as it's a good actor, you can make it work, and I'll be happy. So that's the only real thing that kind of that stands out to me when I think about questions like that. But I mean, hey, amongst you guys, what are some fantasy castings that you would have? Do you have a fantasy casting for Nova? Jump down in the comments section. Let Jamie know what your thoughts are. Nathan Chung writes, do you think Namor will be in Black Panther 2? Funny, I'm positive you asked that question already before. And again, no, I think the rights issues are too convoluted right now. Metal Gear Kieran writes, would you consider giving Patreon supporters an option to suggest a movie to review on your channel? I don't know about that. The only reason is because if I create that as a feature, well, now I'm obligated to, no matter how busy my week is, I got to figure out time to set aside a couple of hours, watch that movie, and then another couple of hours to record a review, edit it, do all the post on it, and all that kind of stuff. And I just don't know that I can. It's not a bad idea. I just have to make sure. One of the things I never want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. And because I hate it when my viewers expect something from me and I'm not able to deliver it. That kills me. It really does. It tears me up. And I'd want to be really careful because I am working 12, 13, 14 hours a day right now. And it is, to add more to it, it's tough. My biggest concern, again, would be that I would say we're doing this and then 4 weeks in a row go by that I'm never able to do it when I said I would do it. And that's always something that tears at me because it happens sometimes. There are times that I say I'm going to do something and then just hours get away and I don't get a chance to do it, and that tears me up. I hate it when that happens. So I'd want to be really, really careful. It's not a bad idea. If I could figure out a way to do something like that where I know I could be consistent with it, I would probably look at that. Mike Hill writes, hey, John, love your show. Simple question. How many will survive in Infinity War, and how many original Avengers will be in Phase 4? I'm not going to even begin to answer that question. Not at all, because I've seen the movie and I'm not going to give anything away. Amy Singh writes, there are 9,000 movie screens in India. Okay, that's interesting because this was brought up earlier today. One of the viewers from India mentioned that there's a certain movie playing, I think it was Infinity War, is playing on like 2,000 screens in India. And I remember that caught me by surprise. I said, wow, you know what? I didn't realize there were that many screens in India. Like, don't get me wrong, I didn't think there was like 12 screens in India. I never thought that, but I didn't realize it was on that scale. Amy's now following that up saying, hey, dude, there's like 9,000 screens in India, which shouldn't surprise me. I mean, clearly, like, especially with Bollywood, film is a truly treasured art form down there. But it's just because I'm not there, I'm not really aware of it, it caught me by surprise. So I think that's awesome. That's incredible. JB1411 writes, stay away from Forbes. They've posted Infinity War spoilers. I know that I put up a video about this yesterday. It completely drove me nuts that they did that. I still don't know what the hell those ridiculous idiots were thinking putting that up. And it's just hey guys, it's not even a review. They literally just put up this article that says, here's every major spoiler in Infinity War. Do. And the moment they put that up, you started seeing trolls all over the internet, in chat boards and forums and on Twitter and in YouTube channel discussion areas, comment sections, mine included. Like minutes after that thing went up, the trolls were taking it and going out and spreading it around as much as they could, trying to ruin the movie for people. And I just have no idea. Like, why Forbes hates movie fans? No idea. But clearly they hate movie fans. They have no respect for movie fans. Doesn't matter that movie fans were begging media outlets, please don't spoil this movie. Despite the fact that Disney and the filmmakers, the Russo brothers, were pleading with people, please, we've worked so hard to keep all the stuff in this movie a secret. Please don't disseminate spoilers. Please don't proliferate the spreading of spoilers. What's the first thing that Forbes does? Let's spread all the spoilers. From a film fan's point of view, look, first world problems. Let's keep it in context. But from a film community point of view, it's unforgivable. It's completely unforgivable. And I'm still sure they owe the film fan community a deep apology. A deep apology for what they've done. They really, really do. And don't give me this, but it said in the article, if you don't want spoilers, don't read it. That's not the problem. The problem is the people who just want to ruin the movie for everybody else. They just come to Forbes and you give them all the spoilers. Now, even though they haven't seen the movie, they've got all the spoilers and they can start going around to all the places online and try to ruin the movie for everybody by dropping all the spoilers. And that is on you, Forbes. It's on Forbes. And it's completely infuriating. Anyway, Jessica Tennis writes, your guess, where will Infinity War's Rotten Tomato scores be? Well, after seeing the initial reactions, I'm going to guess around the 88% mark. I'm going to say 88%. That's my guess right now, 88%. Really, really strong. Not like 98, 99, but I'm going to go around 88%. Okay, Javier Belmer writes, hey, John, how cool would it be if Avengers 4 wasn't actually considered the fourth and reserve the name Avengers 4 for when/if the Fantastic Four appear in a future installment? Chills. Cringy, to be honest with you, Javier. I mean, hey, you know what? Maybe a lot of people would love that idea. To me, that sounds really gimmicky, and I would not like it. But maybe there are tons of other people who would. Clearly you like it, so I'm sure other people would like it too. I will be honest with you, though. That strikes me like grating your fingernails down a chalkboard. I think that screams schlocky. It screams cliche, and it screams shtick. So it doesn't work for me, but if it works for you, that's great. I hope it happens just for you. But no, for me, that's not something that would work. Let's see. Lance Pro 85 writes, hey, John, does Infinity War throw Ant-Man 2's plot into question? It's okay if you can't answer. Well, look, we've always known. We've known already going in. They've made it public knowledge that Ant-Man kind of happens before the events of Infinity War. So, I mean, knowing that, you already know that Ant-Man 2's story is kind of insulated from Infinity War anyway, right? So I won't say anything more other than that. I'm just repeating what we already know. So I'll leave it at that and let you figure the rest out. All right. Inferno writes, which MCU movie have you rewatched the most and the least amount of times? I have rewatched Avengers 2 the most and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 the least amount of times. It's funny, I am also Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is the one I've watched the least. I've seen it twice. I like it. I like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but it just didn't, it's good. And that's great, but it lacked that something, that special element that James Gunn was able to give us in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And I thought Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was a step down. Still a good movie, still entertaining. I still gave it a positive review. I still suggest people see it, but I only found myself really having the desire to watch it twice. I never saw it more than that. The one I've seen the most amount of times is probably the first Thor movie. It's certainly the one I saw the most in theaters, because I saw the first Thor movie in theaters like 7 times. I love that movie. Love it, love it, love it. I mean, I like Avengers more, but I think I saw Thor the most times. So that's when I saw the most. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the one I probably watched the least. Abram Asif writes, more surprises, Infinity War or Star Wars The Last Jedi? I'll say Infinity War. I will. A lot of surprises in Star Wars The Last Jedi, but I'm going to say more. Now, whether they're good surprises or bad surprises, that's up for you to decide. But there are definitely more surprises, from my point of view at any rate, in Infinity War. TF writes, they confirmed Tom Hardy was the one voicing Venom in the trailer. That's awesome. I'm super hyped for it, but I need to see more of Venom in action to seal the deal. Yeah, I said the exact same thing. I quite enjoyed the new Venom trailer. I thought they did a really good job with the new Venom trailer. I'm on board with it. I am. I'm a little bit iffy still on the look of Venom, because that still image, he looks a little bit plasticky. Now, when he's in motion, as the teeth come over the top and underneath, and then the tongue comes out, that looked great. But what I said when I was talking about the Venom trailer was that need to see a little bit more context, need to see it actually in movement and in action a little bit more before I really know how I feel about it wholeheartedly. Now, I'm already bought in. I'm going to go see this movie, and I'm enthusiastic about seeing it. But I do need to see a little bit more from the costume itself. Trevor Riches writes, was the Infinity War premiere in IMAX? If so, how did the increased aspect ratio look? No, it was not in IMAX. It was actually in a Dolby dual laser projection system. It was in a Dolby experience, which to me I like more than IMAX. I've been clear about that because that's the format they use in AMC Prime theaters. So they did it at the Dolby Theater, and they did it with the Dolby system. It was the Dolby Dual Laser, which I prefer to IMAX. So I actually went, and it looked beautiful, looked absolutely beautiful. James McHatton writes, John, love this show and listen to Anne. All work and I should listen to Anne. All work and no play is not the way. I'm driving 4 hours to Kansas City to watch Infinity War at a Dolby Digital AMC. They have Prime there as well. What's the difference? Dolby Digital at AMC, I believe, is interchangeable with Prime, because Prime, I believe, is Dolby Digital. At least most Prime theaters are. And if you're going to the one I'm thinking of, I have been to that theater. Because I would fly, when I worked with AMC, they used to fly me down to their corporate offices every once in a while. And when I would be down there, the guy who was my boss, Justin Gardner, he's no longer with AMC, unfortunately, but my boss, Justin Gardner, and we would go to that theater over there. And I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. And you're right, I need to make some time for myself. And because Anne was telling me the other day, I'm working too much. I need to develop some hobbies for myself and I already have things I love, but I'm not spending any time on the things I like outside of my job. So I will take the advice and I will do more things like that. And the next question comes to us from Chao Sang, who writes, did you like 1995's The Quick and the Dead? I did, and disappointed to find out that the box office didn't even break even with production budget. I did. And it was kind of ahead of its time in a way, because you had this Western film with this female badass lead, and that was in 1995. Like, it was ahead of its time. You had Gene Hackman, Russell Crowe, Leonardo DiCaprio was in it. Let me just bring up here who else was in this thing. Tobin Bell was in it. Keith David was in it. Lance Hendrickson was in it. Gary Sinise was in it. I mean, it was a star-studded movie. And again, with Sharon Stone, who was really hot at the time, Gene Hackman, Russell Crowe. I mean, it's incredible when you look back on it and see the cast was in it. But yep, for whatever reason, didn't do all that well. But it is a good movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's not, to me, like an all-time classic or anything, but it's a good movie and it deserved better for sure. MuseTac Reviews writes, John, watch this Venom trailer 34 times now. And yep, I really dig the trailer. Again, it's not a complete game changer, but it is a trailer, and I mentioned this in the show earlier, that took people from being like really skeptical about it to like, okay, maybe there's potential here. Like I was talking about, there's one particular like trailer reactor I watch, and he said, okay, so I'll say now I kind of see potential. He didn't say he's excited about it, but that's what this trailer did. It changed the narrative about it. It took people who were kind of looking forward to it to really looking forward to it. It took people who were just completely pessimistic about it to maybe there's some potential here. So it did what a good trailer does. It moved the needle. And that's impressive. It is impressive. And I am actually getting pretty excited about this movie. It could be a giant sack of shit, but I really believe there's upside to this movie. Dirac Scambait Vids writes, longtime fan, John, since I stumbled upon a mailbag segment back in the AMC days. Well, thanks so much, man. I just want to say you are awesome, and I'm trying to avoid Infinity War spoilers. And that seems to be what everybody's in survival mode right now, right? Everybody's just trying to survive the next few days until it's time for Infinity War. And good luck to you, man. And thank you so much for sharing that. And thanks for joining me on this little journey that we're all on together since the AMC days. I appreciate that a lot, man. Thanks for sending in your thoughts. And good luck staying spoiler-free before Infinity War. The little nerdy birdie writes, since Infinity War is releasing so early, which movie do you think will come out on top over the summer? Han Solo, Jurassic World, or Ant-Man? Why are you leaving Deadpool 2 out of that? I think Deadpool 2 is a serious contender too. I'll say this. I used to think Deadpool 2, but I should know better than to doubt Jurassic. I doubted Jurassic World the last time it came out, and it just at the time broke the opening weekend box office record. Nobody saw that coming. So I am out of the doubting Jurassic World game. I'm going to guess, and I've mentioned this before, Jurassic World. I think Jurassic World is going to win this summer. Then I think Deadpool 2 will come in second, then Solo, then Ant-Man. That's how I see it playing out. Let's see how right or wrong I am. All right, Luke1234 writes, your thoughts on 1987's RoboCop, my favorite film. It's funny, just earlier in this video, I think the very first question in this video was the exact same thing. And you know what? I think it was actually you who asked that question before too. Again, love the movie. Certainly the best of all the RoboCop movies, including the reboot. And I like the reboot, but I already gave my answer to that. All right, Christopher Benson writes, I was all set to be a new Patreon member until you said you prefer Coke over Pepsi. What the F, Giovanni? Pepsi is way better. You sad me. I'm sorry, man. I just got to be honest. But to be fair, I don't drink Coke or Pepsi anymore. I just don't. Now I find them just I've been so adapted to the diet stuff that it's just way too sweet for me. But I do prefer Diet Pepsi over Diet Coke. So when I have a choice, I'll get Diet Pepsi over Diet Coke. At the movie theaters, most movie theaters I go to don't offer Pepsi products, so I get Coke Zero, which tastes a little bit more like Diet Pepsi than Diet Coke does. But Coke Zero is a little closer to that. So I don't really drink either Coke or Pepsi. I usually just drink the diet stuff when I do. At home, I don't drink any really colas. I drink Zevia Cola because it's a non-artificial sweetener one, but I don't drink Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke at home or regular Coke or regular Pepsi, and I never drink regular Coke or regular Pepsi. So cut me a little bit of slack. David Coker writes, thoughts and prayers to everyone in Toronto. Yeah, terrible incident in Toronto, especially the victims and their families, friends, and those who witnessed such a horrific tragedy. Stay strong, Toronto, my second home. Yeah, and it's just so odd, like stuff like that. Nowhere is immune. Even the great country of Canada, there's nowhere immune to this type of stuff. And just my heart goes out to everybody there. Thank you, David, for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Manuel Fernandez writes, hey, John, hope your day was going well before Forbes. Yeah, Forbes really put a sour note on everybody. Batman Ninja comes out today, and so far the reviews are really good. Will you watch it? Well, it's funny because you're the second person today that has mentioned that. And I said if enough people ask me about it, maybe I will. So I don't know. Maybe I will. I wasn't even planning on watching it, but maybe I will, and maybe I'll review it. Let me think on that. Recruz writes, John, I'm worried there is a link on Google that supplely contains Infinity War spoilers. How would they have spoilers at this stage? Should we be concerned? Well, they got spoilers because the jackasses at Forbes put up an article that just did nothing but list all the spoilers because they're idiots. They're inconsiderate, bullshit idiots. And they are responsible for thousands of fans now having Infinity War ruined for them. Not because they read it on Forbes, but because trolls could go and just get all that glorious spoilery goodness, and they could take all that and go around and spoil it for everybody else on chat boards and forums and things like that. It's all thanks to Forbes. Forbes ruined it for thousands, maybe tens of thousands of fans. So way to go, Forbes. Hope you're happy with yourself, you fucking morons. Anyway, next one. DeQuincy Travis writes, big fan. What's the over-under we get Secret Wars in Phase 4 of the MCU? Also, will Sony's MU, starting with Venom, share any connection to the MCU? Well, with the Venom part of that question, I only answer one question per submission. With the Venom part of that question, we simply don't know. They teased that there might be some little connection. Look, for all we know, this is going to be totally separate from anything to do with Tom Holland Spider-Man. At the same time, we could get a Tom Holland cameo in the movie, right? I mean, that's possible too. So really at this point, I have no idea. I really don't have any idea what's true about that. I would guess that the connection between Venom and the Tom Holland Spider-Man is going to be suggested, but it's going to be kind of like the way the Netflix MCU is connected to the real MCU. Yeah, technically they're connected, but in no practical way are they connected. You know what I mean? Like, you're never going to see Daredevil pop up in an MCU film. Well, I should never say never, but I mean, it's not going to happen anytime soon. So I think it might be that's the case. I think it's going to be the case where there's a reference to Spider-Man, like some vague reference to a web slinger, but you won't actually see him. So I think it's going to be like that. I think the relationship between Venom and Spider-Man is going to be like the relationship between the Netflix Marvel shows and the actual MCU. Vague references. Technically, you could say they're connected, but in no practical way are they actually connected. So I think that's kind of the way they're going to play that out. The one who eats lemons writes, I love that name. Here in Hong Kong, there's a cheap old-fashioned theater without any digital system, still using marker and cardboard for each showing to pre-assigned seats. Man, that is old school, dude. But hey, you know what? Whatever. As long as they show you a movie and you can have a good time watching the movie, that's the most important thing, man. But that is pretty a foreign idea. That is a very foreign idea to somebody like me who's so used to the digital stuff. So thank you for reminding us all that there are still places in the world that do it like that. And hey, if it works, it works. Let's see. Edgar Navarro writes, after watching Infinity War, do you have an idea on what the title is for Avengers 4? Somebody asked me something similar to that a little bit earlier today, and here's what I said. I don't really have any better idea about what the title will be, but I believe it narrows it down. Like, let's put it this way. I don't think watching this movie gave me no real insight as to what the title could be, but what it did do is eliminate a bunch of potential titles. So let's say we had 1 million things that Avengers 4 could be named. Well, I think a whole bunch of those have been eliminated now, so probably down to like 100,000 things that it could be named. So again, it didn't really zero in for me. I have no idea what Avengers 4 will be. Even after watching the movie, after watching Avengers 3, I still have no idea what Avengers 4 will be called. So, but there are a number of things now that may have been possibilities that I know it won't be called now. So that's what I can say about that. All right, Cameron Peterson writes, I have been a faithful watcher for every day for 3 years. That's awesome, man. Thank you. I'm fasting until Thursday from all internet to avoid spoilers. I'll have to break my streak. You know what? You are totally safe to watch my shows. I am not going to spoil crap. Just if you watch live, just turn off just don't look at the chat board. Just disregard the chat board. Just don't watch the chat board. But I promise you on my stuff, I will not spoil anything. But thank you, Cameron, for sharing that. And thank you for being a viewer for so long. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And for being a part of our film fan community. All right. Darth Impact writes, hey, John. I mentioned this before, but now that the MCU won't be big at Comic-Con, it's time for Warner Brothers / DC to go balls to the wall for Aquaman, right? Well, hey, look, I mentioned this before. With Marvel not being there this year, it creates a vacuum. And this is a big opportunity for Warner Brothers. And since Warner Brothers doesn't have a lot else coming out, you have Shazam, Wonder Woman 2, and you've got Aquaman. Go balls deep. Just pedal to the metal, go full throttle, go all in. This is a great opportunity. And you know what? I would say the same thing to Sony about Venom. Come to Comic-Con guns blazing. Just come to Comic-Con full throttle and really go full court press, hard press on Venom. There is an opportunity here. There's a lot of attention to go around, whereas before in other years, that attention has to be divided up a hell of a lot more because Marvel was there with their MCU stuff. This year, not so much. Take advantage of it. I really hope they do. I really, really hope they do. James B. writes, really, Forbes magazine? Really? You couldn't wait a few days? I mean, look, you guys know how I feel about it already. What they have done in terms of film fandom, again, first world problems for sure. But in terms of film fandom, what they have done here is unforgivable. It's absolutely unforgivable. Forbes needs to issue a statement of apology to the film fan community for what they've done. Oh, but we warn people, don't read it if you don't want articles. Shut up, you ignorant idiots. You know full well it's not people, coming to read the spoilers. It's the trolls who are coming to get armed with all the spoilers from you so they can go out and ruin it for everybody else. All right, you say, oh, we're giving people a choice to read it. Yeah, but you're giving all the information to people who are not going to give the other people a choice. They're going to go in randomly into YouTube chat boards and to other forums and things like that and just spread. It's already happening. And it's all been traced back to you. So, I just don't know what else to say about it. AFK 2010 writes, Bohemian Rhapsody debuts on the 2nd of November. When can we expect a trailer, do you think? I would expect it sometime in August. It's not one of these films that you need, nor should you start marketing it too far ahead in advance. It's not one of those types of movies. I think a 3-month cushion is a good amount for Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, they could go earlier than that. They could go June, something like that. I would say August. If it was up to me, I'd say August. They could go a little bit before that, but I wouldn't expect it any much later than August. Stu Padso writes, Kong Fistful of Quarters was great. Thanks for that. What is your favorite documentary? And yeah, screw Forbes. Yeah, screw Forbes indeed. So for those of you who missed it, the other day we were talking about documentaries and I mentioned Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. And I told people, if you have not seen this documentary, it's for something that's as silly as it is one of the most compelling documentaries I have ever seen. I'd have to sit down and think about favorite documentaries and all that kind of stuff, but definitely Kong Fistful of Quarters is definitely right up there on my list. Shervin H writes, didn't Forbes put that up before embargo lifted? Yep, they did. And here's the other thing about that little spoiler. Now, it's not a review. It's not even a review. It's just hey guys, we're going to put together an article here and just list all the spoilers. Haha. And they put it up before the review embargo lifted. So they were spilling out information about the movie before a review embargo even lifted. I really hope Disney does something about this. I really hope Disney does something about this. I really do. And it's unfortunate because I know a couple of guys who work with Forbes and they're good guys. There are some good people that work there. And it pains me to say it. So I don't know that I want to go so far as to say Disney should just blacklist, should just not allow Forbes, representatives from Forbes to go to any screenings. Because there are good people that I know that work at Forbes. But, this is not the first time Forbes has allowed shit like this to be published. So, anyway. Eric Wahlberg writes, I wrote a while back predicting the Russos would deliver amazing action / fight scenes. Well, come on, Eric. Everybody knew that. Everybody who saw Civil War knew, and who saw Winter Soldier, everybody knew they were going to deliver great action scenes. That's no big secret. I wrote a while back predicting the Russos would deliver amazing action / fight scenes and likely the best of all the movies thus far. Was I right? It all depends on who you ask. I said in my review, I still think, like, for instance, the airport scene in Civil War, I still think is the best action scene in the MCU. And I still think that after seeing Infinity War. The action in Infinity War is fabulous. It's really great. I still have Civil War a little bit above it. But it's definitely, the Infinity War action's in the top 5%. I said this in my review, is in the top 5% of all comic book movie action stuff. It's definitely up there, but I still lean towards Civil War, the airport scene, a little bit myself. All right. James Welsh writes, what ramifications will Forbes face? Probably none. But I really think Disney needs to have a serious conversation with them. Because what Forbes has done is just so damaging. Again, I hesitate to say never allow them to come to screenings again, but you got to do something. You got to do something. Ryan Platts writes, still haven't shown Woody Harrelson's Carnage. Well, we still don't know that he is Carnage. We've certainly heard rumors of it. We've certainly seen things come out that strongly suggest it, but I've never seen anything that is 100% confirmation that it is. So, and remember, the movie's in October, right? It's still April. So you got May, June, July, August, September. The movie's still 6 months away. It's still half a year away. So there's still plenty of time for them to show us a lot more stuff. So I'm not worried about that part at all. And who knows if he is Cletus Cassidy or not. We'll have to find out. Suburban Nerd writes, you inspired me to start a YouTube channel on Nerd News late last year. Just passed 100 subscribers. Your 2-hour video helped with equipment. 2.5 hours of work for a 15-minute video. Damn. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work. Doing this stuff is a lot of work. Like even just me making these companion videos. Like this video is going to be over 2 hours long, probably, or right close to it, or over 2 hours long. There's a lot of work involved. You got to be dedicated and committed to it. And like the John Campea show is about 40 minutes long, but about 4 or 5 hours of work per day goes into just that one show. It's the most important show on my channel for sure. But there's a lot of work that goes into that show. And then just making these companion videos to catch up on the questions. Hours of commitment. Like I'm going to tell you right now, I'm recording. This is 12:15 a.m. And I've been recording for hours. My throat is really sore. I still have to edit because I had to stop at a couple of points just to go refill drinks and things like that. So I've got to edit it together, render it out, upload it. If I'm lucky, I'll be in bed by 2:30 in the morning. And I got to get up at 5. So it's a lot of work. But it's fun. It's fun at the same time, and it's totally worth it to me. Javier Belmer writes, hey, John, love the Venom trailer. Me too. I quite enjoyed it. I am so pumped. My only beef is the fact that the music is the same one used and arranged for the Infinity War trailer. It seemed a tad bit lazy for marketing team, in my opinion. I'm not 100% sure that's true. Maybe that's true. I'm not 100% sure that that's actually true. But even if it is, it wouldn't be the first time. I mean, look, lots of trailers use lots of music from other trailers that have used the same music. Even Lord of the Rings did that. The Requiem, there's this one big piece of music. Like this really epic piece of music, right? But it's from Requiem for a Dream. And they used it, and about 7 other films have used it too. So it's not lazy. It's just, look, you find a piece of music that highlights your film and does it. And again, I'm not even sure if it is the same music. I wasn't paying attention, so it could be, it might not be. But even if it is the same, it's not an uncommon practice. Remember, this isn't the movie. This is marketing for the movie. There's not artistic merit in the trailer. It's about marketing. And if a piece of music helps you market your trailer best, it doesn't matter if it's been used in 18 other trailers. All the studios understand that. You use the music that you think is going to help market the film. And if that works, that works. Don't worry about that at all. It has nothing to do with the movie. This is not about the movie. It's about the marketing of the movie. So I wouldn't worry one bit about that, Javier, honestly. Edgar Magna writes, hey, John, are you going to watch the Batman Ninja movie? Another thing about Batman Ninja. You know what? I wasn't going to. Fine. I'm going to watch Batman Ninja. There. You guys have talked me into it. I'm going to watch Batman Ninja. Robert Carrasco writes, thoughts on Lethal Weapon show. Love it. You're like the 8th person over the last couple of months who've asked me about it. I've never seen an episode. So I honestly can't give you an opinion. But I am really surprised about how many people... Honestly, I think the show looks awful. I think it looks terrible. But I've had a number of people writing to me who seem to really like the show. Look, I don't have time to watch it, so I'm probably not going to watch it. But it is encouraging to find out that even though it looks bad to me, that maybe it's actually pretty good. There's certainly enough of you guys writing to me about it saying that you like it. Doug Cowell writes, sure, Star Wars is a galaxy, but these are big players. What about seeing the R2 and 3PO again, who were in every movie? See, but yeah, that's the thing. Like, to me, I get putting in 3PO and R2 because they've been in every movie. But even then, to me, it feels, again, like when they popped up in Rogue One, I get why they're there. So it wasn't as jarring. But sometimes they just pop up for the sake of popping up. I'm like I don't want to see R2 and 3PO in Solo. I do not want to see them in that movie. It's just going to feel way too forced to me. Micah T writes, last 2 questions. Micah T writes, Forbes is causing me to live like a caveman till Friday. Thanks for the heads up, though. I'm going to go read a book or something. See you guys after Infinity War. I know, like, so many people now feel like they got to do this until Infinity War comes out because irresponsible online bodies like Forbes are acting like jackasses. So thanks so much for that again, Forbes. And the final question in here today, Suburban Nerd writes, I have so much respect for what you do. When you started, how long did it take you to do videos by yourself? Research, notes, record, description, upload, thumbnails, 3 hours? Well, it all depends on the video. It all depends on the video. Like, for instance, a movie review, I probably prep for about, if you don't take into consideration the time actually watching the movie, probably prep for it for about, a half hour. I just gather my thoughts that I want to do. Recording like a 7-minute review probably takes about maybe half hour, 40 minutes. Then there's the editing, which probably takes about an hour to edit. When you consider pulling all the images, doing the cuts, doing the edit. Another 10 minutes of rendering, 10 to 15 minutes of uploading, doing the thumbnail, then probably spend a good 25 minutes to a half hour making a thumbnail, depending on the thumbnail. Some are more complex than others. Then getting it all there and posted up. So yeah, a few hours. Then it depends. So then you get like a 40-minute show, like the John Campea show, probably about 5 hours of work goes into that. So it is tough. And I still don't have much help. Like Ray does some of my graphics, which is great. Jonathan edits together the movie news feed, and he edits my movie review, most of my movie review. I still do some of my own, but he edits a lot of my movie reviews and special little short editorial videos. But everything else I still do completely by myself. I'm here in the studio by myself. I do the camera, I do audio, I do everything. So yeah, there's that. So it's all pretty time consuming. And then when you figure that I do probably 4 videos a day, some of them like this one, which is over 2 hours long, it adds up. And then on top of that, I'm trying to stay on top of my studio correspondence. I'm trying to stay on top of the business aspect of stuff. I'm trying to stay on top of all the emails and tweets and the social media of it all. But again, hundreds of emails a day that I'm trying to do. And then trying to watch stuff. Trying to get out to the screenings and trying to watch some TV stuff and trying to do and then trying to have a life. I have a wife. I have a wife who is look, Anne's in bed right now. And she's like, why are you not coming to bed? And it's I got to work. You're always working. And it's and that's my own fault. I should have figured out a way to get this done earlier in the day. But here it is. It's time consuming. Never underestimate how time consuming it can be. Now you get some great YouTube channels that they do 1 5-minute video every 3 days. I would love to be able to do that, but I can't do that. That's just not the nature of what I do. And, I put out a video and get 3 million views on every video. So I can't do that. I have to grind. And I love the grind, and I love staying on top of the movie news, and I love talking every day about movies, but it's pretty intense. So just keep all that kind of stuff in mind if you ever have delusions of grandeur about wanting to do what I do. It extracts a toll. Anyway, guys, that will finally do it for me for this companion video. We are now all caught up on all the stuff you guys have sent in. Guys, a special thank you to all of you, because when you send in, you do two things when you send in these questions. Number one, you're using Super Chat, so you are actually supporting this channel. Thank you so much. And on top of that, you're keeping the conversation going. You are putting wood on the fire of the conversation. So thank you so much for being a part of that. Make sure you're joining me for the John Campea Show and Open Mic, of course. That's where all these questions come from. And again, if you ever send in a question and I don't have time to get around to it, it's going to pop up on one of these companion videos. I'll try to stay up on them so they don't be 2 hours long. Like, hopefully they're just like, 35 minutes long or something like that. But anyway, that'll do it for me for tonight, guys. My name's John Campea. Thanks so much for joining me. And until my next video, bye-bye.